is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, at 5:05 p.m. This special meeting of the Board of Commissioners is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Hendricks?
Here.
Vice Mayor Price? Here. Commissioner Hodges?
Here.
Commissioner Andrews?
Here.
Commissioner Hudson?
Here.
Is there any public comment tonight on things that are not on the agenda? I think we've got an email.
Yes.
Or is that for the regular meeting, Bob?
No, this is, I guess, it doesn't specify, so
Okay.
It's a general, oh, it does say workshop, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll move on then. Okay, we are going to move agenda item A down to the bottom and start off with item B, interlocal agreement with Pinellas County, local optional fuel tax. Manager Daniels, will you?
Yes, as outlined in the packet, the county has been working on the possibility of bringing out this optional fuel tax. Part of the reason being that we didn't, I guess, due to the pandemic and due to alternative fuels for vehicles, solar and so forth, or electric, I mean, they wanted to bring it forward because they're running a deficit in their funds. Out of that, we get 40% of the money that's raised under the gasoline local option gas tax, and that'll be carried through the same with this increase, the 5-cent increase. And basically, we're going to be the first city to really have it because it came in and we had this meeting. So my objective was try to get as much done here as we can so we free up the 12th meeting for the other items we have. So that's why you have it in front of you. If you have questions or if, I'm sending it out too quick for you and we need to, get other answers for something from the county, but basically the main function is, we're getting 40% of whatever they bring in from our gas station in Madeira Beach, basically. And
Now, is that 40% of just this station, or is that based on per capita of
per capita,
the city?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's the per capita.
Yeah.
Okay.
We only have the one station that
Yeah.
contributes to that gas tax, but
Yeah, because that doesn't affect the fuel at the marina.
right.
Is there any discussion amongst the commission?
So the county is recommending this,
That's correct.
and so the cities that do the increase will get the 40%, and the cities or municipalities that don't agree won't participate in it, or?
I think if they don't get everybody on board with it, it's up to the county commission how they do it. Okay. But from what my understanding is, they're not going to proceed with it. So it pretty much takes everybody, kind of like other interlocal agreements that we've entered into. All the parties have to agree to it.
Well, if we're talking about generating revenue, as much as I hate it, because I've got a gas guzzler, but I think it's probably something we need to move forward with. I know when I've made trips up to Jacksonville and whatnot, we're lower than other counties up that way. So about all it's going to do, I think, is bring us more in line with some of the other counties in the state in reality.
Well, I just know from my experience on the east coast of Florida, they're over $3 in some places for regular gas. So.
And I didn't see, I'm sure it's in there, how much they're talking about the increase will be.
It's 5 cents.
5 cents.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have Tom calling.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking at this, and if you look on page 53, at a 65, it does give the allocation amount. So Pinellas County gets the 60%, and then all the cities split the 40. Our allocation on that is a quarter or 1%, it looks like, right? So, yeah. I don't care, but the only thing I'd like, Andrew, do you know what is as based on 2020's numbers, what would a quarter of 1% of 5 cents be on? You ready for that? Can I keep going? I don't think I've even asked the question yet. There you go.
I'd have to work that up. I don't have that.
All right.
Sounds like the price of a burger.
Yeah, there you go.
Something's better than nothing, I guess.
No, all right,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And well, you know, we drive the roads of the county too, so, I understand everybody's been hit this year, so, as much as I don't like it, I'll just start having to take my boat everywhere, I guess.
Yeah, I'll defer to the county on this. I know we're low here because working in Tampa all those years, I always filled up in
Yeah.
Pinellas. You know, so I know we're lower than Hillsborough. I know we're lower than, I don't know what's just south of us, Sarasota County or whatever.
I apologize. Tom's redirecting himself here, but we might be done by the time he can make it, so.
That's fine.
Okay, I think I got it figured out. So, the revenue looks like oh, no, that's not gallons, never mind. I thought I had it. Okay, sorry.
Just a quick question, do we have to pay the tax on, city vehicles?
Yes.
Why don't we get a marine pump for the city vehicles?
Then the IRS will be
I
coming
know,
after.
I know.
They were already trying to say that we were using gasoline out of the pumps, and I said that's not the case, so.
Okay. Is there any comments amongst the audience? I know you don't have any, but.
They talk about sidewalks in this. Is it what are the limits on what the money can be spent? And
Like with us, we've spent local option sales tax on fire equipment. There, you know, it's pretty much open, whatever our amount. I think they have pledged it for replacing and repairing sidewalks in the unincorporated area primarily. And, you know, apparently they have a big need for sidewalks in certain areas, so that's why they've been pledging their gas tax too, and other highway improvements, mostly along county roads.
okay,
Yeah, I think we can pretty much do what we want to with it, can't we?
Yes.
And it might be a good thing, we might get some money like for, Patriot Park and stuff like that to dress them up.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it says right in this agreement, under number 2, utilization of fuel taxes. The county and municipalities agreed that the money received from the 5-cent local option fuel tax or the proceeds of any revenue bonds secured thereby shall only be utilized as authorized by Florida Statute 336.025. I think I got that. I think I pulled that up pretty quickly, so.
That's okay, yeah.
I mean, so it must be for transportation or
We're-
something.
Yeah, we're gonna be, same thing we've been doing
Well,
with
I'd
it,
love for our
so-
sidewalks to get,
Yeah.
they
yeah,
got some
so-
bad ones.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with, Pinellas County, and approve the local option fuel tax increase.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Next on the agenda is Saltwater Destination LLC, amendment to beach equipment concession. Mr. Daniels?
Yes, we met with the Tylers and discussed the amendments to the agreement. Basically, there's 3 amendments to it. We removed all of the locations except Archibald Park. We modified the income that we're bringing in. Instead of $15,000 for the year, it's $12,000. And since we lessen the exposure of Saltwater Destination or their ability to collect extra income, we took out the $3,000 provision that was in there and the requirement to have a CPA audit because it's not related to any type of percentage of the business that they do. Am I correct?
Is there anything you'd like to approach the commission, have anything to say about this?
Just to keep it short and sweet, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to once again work through this and, all right, let's get it concluded, move on. And so thank you, everyone, for your time. As far as the amendments, we thought they were very simple, generous in both directions, and allow us to continue to make sure everybody visiting Madeira Beach, hey, this town is awesome, and that's about the size of it. It's pretty simple, cut and dry.
Thank you. Is there any discussion amongst the commission?
I just wanted to make a remark that I've heard a lot of good things about y'all out there, and was glad that we were able to get this together for you. It means a lot. And thank you for staying with us.
I want to thank you too. You know, all of us get comments on how good you guys are, and you can see it on Facebook and whatnot, and I appreciate y'all stepping up to the plate and making that offer, frankly, because it solved a lot of issues for us.
We believe so too.
Thank you.
And Mayor, if I may add, I believe we had one of the top beaches in the U.S. attributed to our ambassadors over at Saltwater Destination. I'm sure they had something to do with that as well. So I wanted to mention that. And I also told them that if they want to continue this income, we need to be #1 next year. So
Yeah, that's true. I know they were up sleepless nights just going on TripAdvisor. So. Yeah. Any more discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass the Saltwater Destination LLC amendment to the beach equipment concession agreement.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0.
Done deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
keep up the good work.
Next is Resolution 2021-07, renaming Madeira Beach Causeway Park. City Manager Daniels.
Yes, when we were at the meeting the other day, we had, I guess it was our workshop meeting. I lose track of all the meetings, so I apologize. But when we picked the name that we needed, we just needed to take official action. And I think we had done it towards the end of our regular meeting. And we didn't have it on the agenda. We didn't have it set. So it's kind of a formality that this is what we're changing. And we did make inquiries with the state, and they just want us to send the information up. And so that's why it's here before you tonight. Again, it was scheduled to come before you on the 12th, but with this special meeting, we wanted to get it done and put away.
Okay.
And if we can have the city attorney read the resolution in.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. First of all, I apologize for not being here at 5 o'clock. This was not on my calendar for today. Resolution 2021-07, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, renaming the Madeira Beach Causeway Park to Madeira Beach Patriot Park and providing for the effective date hereof. That was the reading of Resolution 2021-07 by title only.
Thank you. Is there any comment amongst the commission, or are we ready for this?
We're ready.
Okay.
I'll make a resolution then to pass, Resolution 2021-07.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Hodges?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
Well, since we just passed this, I did want to mention, a lady came up last meeting mentioning, Kitty Stewart Park. And I do know that although it may be on the deed, Tom and Kitty Stewart, because they were married, the park was always Kitty Stewart Park.
Actually, I think in the deed it specified Tom and Kitty Stewart Park is what they wanted to be notified, but I'll get the copy of the deed that I saw.
Yeah, it was called Kitty Stewart Park for years, because Tom Stewart had the causeway. So anyhow, we're past that, I just.
Well, no, I
Wanted to
making
throw
sure
that
that we do the correct records.
Yeah.
We pulled it up, but I'll pull it out again. I didn't bring the file here with me tonight.
No, that's okay. I believe that. I just know, on the sign it was Kitty Stewart, and I always knew it as Kitty Stewart. Next on the agenda is Resolution 2021-06, Opioid Unified Plan, City Attorney Trask.
Yes, I'll read this resolution, and I'll give you a little bit of background on this. This is Resolution 2021-06, a resolution authorizing the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, herein referred to as this governmental unit, to join the State of Florida and other local governmental units as a participant in the Florida Memorandum of Understanding and formal agreements implementing a unified plan and to provide for an effective date hereof. That was a reading of Resolution 2021-06 by title only. A little bit of background on this. The city has recently received a letter from a Deputy Attorney General for the state of Florida. The Deputy Attorney General, along with the Attorney General, has been negotiating with the settlement with a number of different entities, 2 of which are in bankruptcy and a number of which are not yet in bankruptcy, as well as Johnson & Johnson, trying to come to some settlement relative to the opiate epidemic that we've had here in the state of Florida. This is a small part of a huge settlement that is nationwide. The way that the settlement is currently being discussed is that Florida being number 2 or number 3 in overall percentage proceeds will come from the settlement. So even though we're one of the smaller states, we're getting one of the biggest chunks of the money that's going to be available. This particular resolution deals with an allocation of the current dollars that they're discussing. Keep in mind the dollars are not set yet, and the other factors relative to the settlement have not been completed yet. What this resolution is for is to get each one of the municipalities and counties to agree to an allocation, and then the allocation is reflected in the attachment. By accepting this resolution, what you're doing is you're locking yourselves in for nothing other than being considered in the settlement negotiations. If you don't agree and you don't enter into this resolution, what will happen is that the settlement pot will be a little bit smaller, and ultimately there's a possibility that the Attorney General will actually file a lawsuit against those cities that don't join in the settlement to make sure that you get nothing in the future. So they really are anxious for each city and each county to join in with this allocation. And just so you understand, the negotiation is different for the different entities that have been negotiated with. Some of them are paying a settlement over a number of 7 years, some are paying over a settlement over 10 years, some over, in fact, 18 years. And the dollar amounts that are going to be coming into this fund that's going to be created is going to be used, approximately 85% of it, to go towards treating the opiate epidemic. 15% of it is going to go to the counties and the municipalities. Once you get your portion of the money, we're going to be given direction as to what we can actually use that money for. And there is attached to this resolution and the MOU some ideas as to what you can use the money for. I see this as a no-lose situation for you. You're joining in. You have not been litigating this. There are some cities and some counties that have actually hired lawyers to litigate this, but you're getting the benefit of the work that they're doing, even though you've not had to pay anyone. And in most of those situations, those lawyers are getting paid a contingent fee, so any money coming to you would be lessened by whatever that, the work that they did. So again, you're getting the benefit without having to litigate it, and you're doing what the state of Florida's Attorney General is asking you to do. And once a resolution is adopted and all the others are statewide, they'll be able to bring that settlement negotiation to some type of completion, and then ultimately it'll be back before you again sometime in the future to actually accept the settlement. This is just for the allocation. And the allocation is set forth in the attachment as to the dollar amount that you're going to be getting. It's not a huge dollar amount, but it's a dollar amount that you'll be receiving every year over the 18-year settlement period. So with that, I'll try to answer questions for you. Although I have not been involved in the litigation, I did attend a question and answer session with the Attorney General earlier this week to see if I could get a little bit more in-depth information to maybe be helpful to the cities that I represent. The question and answer seminar was frankly really not that helpful. It was more or less most of the attorneys saying, how am I going to get paid? Which was a little frustrating. But the Attorney General was very good in his presentation, and he did say that if in fact you had questions, our municipality, then he would be happy to try to address that by way of a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. Now, obviously, if he does it for all 400 and so cities and 67 counties in the state of Florida, that takes a lot of time, but he has offered that if you have questions that I have not been able to answer. But I would recommend that you adopt this resolution to perfect your interest in receiving these monies. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-06, the opioid unified plan, to be included.
I'll second it.
City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price,
Yes.
Commissioner Hodges,
Yes.
Mayor Hendricks.
Yes.
The motion carried 5-0.
That's completed the business of this special meeting. This meeting is adjourned.
I know.
after doing this for all these years, you know, if I eat ahead of time, I get really sleepy, and it wouldn't be a good thing if I fell asleep up here.
Yeah.
So I eat afterwards, so, yeah. So last night, I was in Tarpon Springs, and it went to 11 again, so. It's, I love coming to Madeira Beach. We only have one of those 11 o'clock meetings once that I know of, right? All the rest of them here are done pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's just languishing.
Yeah.
It's on my walking route, and I look at, you know, and I'm like,
Yeah. I can tell you what I found, the information I found. it is on Third Street East, this one is on.
I don't want a puppy, I love schnauzers, but not right now. It is. I have one plant in my house, and it's barely hanging on. Now sounds great. Oh, really? It likes, yeah, it, recently heard a coyote attack something in my yard in the night. And I'm like, oh, God, sounded terrible. It didn't last maybe 10 seconds, but it was, all this drama out there and loudness. I'm laying there going, oh, my God, I bet you a coyote caught something in my driveway. I walked outside the next day. There was fur and blood by my front door. I don't know I think it was a cat. But something, and there was nothing, other than some fur and a little puddle of blood, there was nothing. No bones. They dragged it away or something. But that was pretty scary sounding. It was over quick. Yeah. But it was by my front door, so it walked right up and on the side of my house, Okay.
Oh, come on now. Maybe, I don't know, but. Oh, that's hilarious. Thank you. No.
Yeah, they do.
I didn't go to Florida State, or Florida either. I went to USF. Yeah, it's okay.
I went to USF.
Wow, wow. That's twice in 10 minutes. I had to work full-time, and the only way I could work full-time, was to go back and forth to USF, so, yeah. How you afford it on your own.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Honey? Mr. Samir was telling us about how he used to wrangle armadillos. Yeah. Really? What does that mean? Oh, that's right, you're going to Alabama, I forgot. It's got a 6.5 hour drive, 7 hour drive. Full blast, to keep myself. But I don't think you can listen to that for 6.5 hours. Good stuff.
I've been listening to this podcast, stuff you should know. It lasts anywhere from like 15 minutes to an hour and a half. And it's two guys and they random topics that you don't realize, and they tell you the history, they tell you everything about, and it's just interesting stuff. I mean, you learn so much. So I'll do my gardening, and I have my headsets on. And stuff you should know, and it just rolls to the next one. Some of them aren't very interesting, but
It's called Things You Should Know?
stuff.
Oh, stuff.
Stuff you should know. And it's these two guys, and so it'll be like sneezing, or how immigration works, or, how, just things that happen in famous meetings, you know, what happened at the blah blah meeting, you know, man, I went to school, I didn't learn any of this stuff, you know, and some of it's very, good to know. I'm trying to think of one, I mean, I listened to it all the way back from East Marina Beach last week, and some were just hilarious. And the two guys are funny, too, you know, earwax, you know, I mean, I'm like, okay. Here's the doctor's advice, never put anything smaller than a football in your ear.
Yeah, they want that.
Because earwax has a purpose, so, and blah, 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 you know. It was just really,
Keith and I are listening to this one in the morning when we do our walk, and it's called Dumb People Town. And it's all about stupid things that people do. And it's like 3 or 4 guys, you know, and they're playing off of one another, the same thing. So same idea, but funny, very funny. So I'll have to look this one up.
stuff you should know.
Okay.
And when you of course, it's free,
Yeah.
and the big red block, when you know you got the right one, because there's one that's like stuff they don't want you to know.
Oh.
I saw that, and I was like, maybe I'll try that next. But there's so many episodes of stuff you should know. I'm trying to get through that. I like the two guys that do it, but
Yeah.
so it's SYSK. SYSK is what you'll see on
Okay.
the symbol when you
The
down.
acronym, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's too much stuff.
I was trying to get to the bathroom before 6 o'clock. That one back.
It is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, 6 p.m. This Board of Commissioners workshop is called to order. City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Hendricks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Price. Here. Commissioner Hodges. Here. Commissioner Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Hudson.
Here.
Is there any public comment? I see one email here.
Yes, I just have the one electronic email. I don't think anybody else is here for, if I may.
Yes, please.
This is from Thomas Bargainer, 90 144th Avenue, Madeira Beach. We own 2 condo units at Madeira Bonita number 3 and number 5 at 90 144th Avenue. And we support the Schooner Hotel redevelopment, but would like to know more about the potential of a height restriction on the garage of not to exceed 3 floors would be acceptable, as this would be an exception to the nature and height of the development on the east side of Gulf Boulevard in this area. We also strongly oppose the relocation of the crosswalk further to the north and in front of the new hotel to convenience patrons who do not live in the area. The crosswalk has been relied upon for many years by local residents and, just as importantly, public beach patrons and the associated parking area to access the Speedway convenience store. Many, many more people at the beach and the neighborhood utilize this crosswalk than the smaller demand of a hotel. If this crosswalk is relocated, it will create a situation of grave danger of the area residents and public beach patrons, as they will cross the street without a crosswalk in the convenience store. They will cross the street without the crosswalk to the convenience store versus traveling an additional 150 feet north, crossing the street and then 150 feet south to the Speedway. Relocation will be at the expense and safety of the neighborhood and public beach patrons, and is constantly utilized and would be unfair to relocate for the lower demand and crossing needs of a small boutique hotel. Thank you.
First on the agenda is status of Board of Commissioners and departmental initiatives for the year 2021, and the set of departmental initiatives for 2022.
Mayor, if I may, historically, we've gone through these as part of the budget process, but I guess it's on our calendar to discuss, and you know, there's always, it's good to get your feedback as we go into the meat of the budget preparation. So we tried to address a lot of the items last year. Obviously, the COVID situation put a damper on some of the things that we wanted to accomplish. So I would assume those are still valid concerns, and we can carry those over to the next year, namely like the town hall meetings and so forth.
Yeah, perhaps we could just go over these objectives one by one, see if anybody has any comments on them. I've got one or two here.
35 pages. I was just going to say, let's streamline this thing.
Well,
This is crazy.
Yeah. 3 of 35, you're right. Okay.
All right, 32 pages.
Well, I was looking at, we can streamline it. Why don't
We can start with
has
Board of Commissioners. Let's look at the Board of Commissioner ones and instruct the different, because every second page, it starts a new department.
Well, that's what I was talking about, was
Okay.
the Board of Commissioners one.
Even ours is just ridiculously long.
Well,
I mean, not too long to go over tonight. I'm just saying in general, it's
Yeah.
too long.
yeah, well, we've got to go over it at one time or another, though, even if we don't get through it tonight.
If we just go through the ones for the Board of Commissioners, that's fine. And then I think what we do is tell the departments to go back. I mean, I looked under parking, and it's got a goal about the website, you know, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, there's some things we'll skip over. I just had a couple of things on the Board of Commissioners one,
Okay.
that stood out to me. And this is one I want to mention, Objective 3, about rehabilitate beach groins and jetties while developing solutions for Johns Pass. While we're working hard on this, I just saw that the funding that was put into this year's budget for the state that we had heard looked like it was going to go through, did not make it. It was scratched.
Yeah.
So we're out for another year.
I hadn't heard that, so.
Yeah, we got it in the email.
Yeah, so I was wondering if we can, what I would like to see us do since that happened is to contact Charlie Chris' office and maybe the senator's office also, and look at getting, since earmarks are back, we might as well see if we can get a cut of that pie and get an earmark put in for Madeira Beach for groins and possibly jetties. Maybe we can get it funded that way.
And where did you see that? What page are you on?
29, or 3 of 61. Objective
Got it.
3
Okay,
towards the
got it.
bottom of the page.
Yep, okay. Yeah, I definitely think redoing our beach groins should stay as one of our initiatives.
We've got to stay on top of that. And
Mayor, I will reach out to Charlie Crist's office.
Okay, thank you.
Senators.
And whoever else you can think of, Rubio, Scott.
Yes.
The other thing I saw was the improvements on city parks, and we discussed this a meeting or two ago. I brought it up. Our parks, a lot of our parks look pretty rough. Landscaping, mulch, we need to set some funding aside to have these parks better taken care of. We've got 20th anniversary coming up. Maybe Jay could address this. I know he probably has some things in the works for getting that park kind of beautified for our Mrs. J. Megan, have you got some things for 9/11 Park planned? But in general, I'd like to see the city, I'd like to see some funding for that next year. That's why, one reason, I know you guys hate me, and I know I'm going to get rocks thrown at me. That's why, again, I bring up another 25 cents on parking revenue until we've got to have some liquidity to be able to spend on getting these projects done until we can get other revenue streams up and going, because we're a few years away from some of that.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I have no problem raising parking. That's never been a major issue for me. I know we'll get some slack from mainly Johns Pass. I mean, those guys will come after us pretty hard about doing that again, and we'll hear the story about how it was always supposed to be free, and then when something was paid for. I've heard the story 100 times, and I buy it, and it's a great idea, but I have no problem with it. The reason I've always stood against it was because for a period of few years there, every time we needed money, or we didn't even need money, we just went to the well.
Yeah.
We haven't done anything really to, number one, correct our budget. We looked at that thing I showed you guys, that CAPFA report to me was a great Bible for us to look at. We're looking back 5 years ago, and our internal spending, on staff and the likes has almost doubled, even after we built this place. I mean, that to me is crazy. And then another thing I objected to was a salary survey, but that salary survey also showed us that we are really top-heavy. I mean, we're really top-heavy, and we've joked about it before, but we have more people with pens in their hand than shovels. And you got to have a pretty good mix in order to do that. And I don't know if Andrew's for this or against it. I haven't talked to him personally about it, but I think we should have kind of a pre-budget workshop, just us, okay? I guess it can be publicized. I mean, it obviously has to be publicized, but it could be a shades meeting. I don't know, Tom, if that's even possible. You can't do that? Okay, just to kind of get an objective. Well, I think we need to look at all of this and go back and use, and Andrew, I'll give you a barometer. Use 2016, 2017 as a thing. And somebody says, oh, well, we built a new facility. Yeah, well, the facility was already built and up and running by then. Let's take a look at the money we were spending on positions then and look at what we're doing now, because I haven't seen a monstrous increase in revenue since then. I haven't seen departments blowing out their numbers or the likes of that. So I'd like to kind of ease back. There was a complete lack of fiscal responsibility here for a while, okay? People were spending money like It was pouring out of trees, and we, you know, COVID kind of gave us a good example of why we can't always count on, you know, these revenues coming in. So I guess, long story short, I don't want to be long-winded about it. I think we need to have, you know, it can be a public meeting, but a workshop amongst us just to talk about potentially revamping what we're doing and trying to save some money that way before we go to that. I think the next time that we raise parking, it should be for a particular project. If we're going to do it, and we've always said it before, oh, well, we'll raise it 50 cents, but we'll give a quarter here. Quarter there never goes there, okay? It always goes back into the general fund, and it never gets spent the way that we initially thought it was going to be spent. But I really think that we got to go back to the fiscally responsible, you know, model, okay? Because, you know, we went through COVID, and I'm not busting anybody's chops here, but think about our neighbors next door here, okay? You guys have read it in the paper. St. Pete Beach during COVID had a $900,000 budget surplus, okay? We almost raised the millage rate. Think about that for a second. We're watching our costs skyrocket, okay? And we're watching our revenue stay flat. And then our neighbors took advantage of COVID. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Okay. Benefited from it financially, okay, because of their fiscal policies. And we are sitting here holding the bag. So I think this is a really good wake-up call for us, and I think it's a really good thing that we could sit down and kind of discuss this in an environment like this, but kind of get an idea from Andrew on how do we get back there? How do we get back to that spot? So that's all I really got to say. So nobody's gonna throw rocks at you, man. I'm all for it.
All right.
Let's have a project.
You know, while we're on that subject, if you remember back during the budget talks, right after that, I brought up holding salaries as they were for this year. And I was quickly told that we needed to give everybody a 2% across the board raise. And I was against that. And I think that was a bad move on the commission's part to have done that. And I supported some raises on people that were doing an exceptional job, but not an across-the-board raise. And that's part of where I was going with that, because we did have that big salary increase for everyone a number of years ago during a previous city manager. And maybe we did need to get in line on some of those, but I brought this up 6 months ago. So we do need to look at that and give raises to people that deserve raises, but not give raises to the whole, 85 people. Because when I drive around a lot of times, I see things that are going on that shouldn't be going on, frankly, and it kind of irks me to see people getting raises that probably don't deserve them, and I don't think we were good stewards by doing that. And we've got to get it in a position. I don't want to raise parking rates either, and maybe that's something we could do other than the village. But until we can generate more revenue and get things in place to do that, we had a number of years where people were saying, shut this town down, we don't want anything going on. And because of that, we're in the situation we're in now where we're not generating revenue. The developments were basically stopped. We've just now got something coming online with a potential development in the village and the schooner. And this other project, the Cambria, and those condominiums that should have gone on years ago, but instead the height got lowered and we lost all our green space and we lost a lot of revenue. And it was just, I don't want to throw rocks at folks that were in here a number of years ago, but it just was not good business sense to do that. And that's why I bring up possibly raising the parking rates a little bit so that we can do these things and make the parks more presentable. And, you know, you drive across there, the bridge now, it looks pretty rough. We talked about putting up a fence across the front of the Marina. I've heard crickets since then. Is that ever going to happen or what? I thought we all agreed to getting a fence across the Marina. So, and these are small things. That's a small thing to dress up the city, but all these things, we've got to have some revenue to be able to do these things if we're wanting to put that best foot forward as a city.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we're totally on the same page then, because I think where I'm trying to go with this is, you know, we did that salary survey. Again, it was $15,000. I thought it was a big waste of money when we could have just invited every HR director in the 10 things to lunch here, and we could have knocked that out in an afternoon. We paid $15,000 for it. But the problem was, we paid $15,000 for it, and then we didn't use it. We used it for all the people that were making below their number, but anybody that was making more than the number, oh no, well, you know, we don't want to take a decrease in salary. You do a salary survey, that's what you do, okay? You make the changes, you implement the changes, and you move on. But nobody wanted to talk about that part. So that's why we saw that huge, what you were talking about earlier, that huge jump a few years ago. And, you know, the 2% thing, look, that's pretty customary on a regular basis. Last year was an odd year, and I get that, why you might have been against that. But, you know, it's not like we're overpaying or, you know, the rank and file here by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that that's all part of what I was just talking about. I think we need to sit down and really go through. I mean, it's going to be a labor-intensive deal, but go through each department and let's take a look. Where were we just 5 years ago? I'm not saying let's go back 30 years. 5 years ago, where were we? How many people did we have? What were they making? And let's try to get closer to that instead of going further on. Okay?
Yeah, I agree. And I also, though, I think 2% is not customary. A lot of times it's a cost of living raise. You know, that could be 1%, could be 1.5%, could be, you know, whatever that cost of living is. But I was against it back then, and I just still don't think that was a move we should have made. But that's water under the bridge. So, anyhow.
So shall we direct every department at this point to tell me who you have, you know, what positions you had in your department, and what were they earning, I guess, back in 2016, and today? What positions do you have in your department, and what are they earning? And then maybe we meet with the department heads and say, you know, because things do change, I mean, and make sure that we have not too many chiefs and just enough Indians.
I don't think we can meet with department heads, though. We meet with the city manager, and city manager meets with department heads.
Well, sometimes that's part of the problem, right? I mean, I know of a couple of decisions that were surprising to me.
But they can meet with us in a workshop, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, we can have staff here.
We can ask questions during a workshop.
Sure, and I think, like I said, the beauty of what I'm talking about, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you though. Okay, the beauty of what I'm talking about is we kind of got a Bible from 2017, okay, that shows what the positions were and what we were spending money on. There's going to be things like road projects that come up and all these other things, but I think our general overall expenses. And there was also a chart that showed you where the additional staff is, okay? There's some departments that are running less than what they were and they're bringing in equal or the same amount of revenue. But if they're not, let's circle back and let's see what is going wrong here, and let's adjust these things, and then we can have a comprehensive plan going into the budget, and then we can adjust the money that way. And I don't think, you know, everything kind of flows in a thing. People get hired, okay, and nobody's leaving, and you're hiring more people. I mean, I saw the number at City Hall. It's astronomical. It went from 15 people to 32. I don't know what it was, like a 20-person increase or something like that, right? So, and that's exaggerating. I don't know exactly how much it was, but let's take a look at that and let's see where we can make moves. And you know, it's not show fun, it's show business. We're running a $18-20 million business here. We got to be a lot more responsible with the money that's going out, especially if we don't have new revenue that's generating. It's going to start tomorrow. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before we leave the parks
Yes.
discussion, have we thought about asking different organizations to pick a park and sponsor it? And
that has been done, and Director Hatch, can you fill us in on anything that we may have going on that? I know you've been working on that.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we're actually in the process still of that 501c3 that we're forming, the Friends of Parks and Recreation. The paperwork is with the state for the actual 501c3 designation, and then once we get that, they'll be able to open a bank account and start raising money. So we ran into some paperwork snags and all that along the way, but with that, one of their goals, they've listed 4 main goals, but one of those goals is to begin adopting parks one at a time and improving them based on, in line with a vision that the city has for what we want out of each of those parks, because they're all different shapes, sizes, access, all that stuff. So the idea is to raise money per park. But I know right now for those 4 goals, the initial fundraising goal is going to be $50,000. So we've got some people ready to go and excited and all that, but we got to be able to collect that money. So it's in the process, though.
Do you have a number on how many companies or individuals are ready to get on board?
I don't. In particular, we haven't actually started discussing it with businesses, because if we get them, if I go to, some business in town and I'm, hey, you want to write us a check for $500, and they're ready to do it, and then I can't accept it, we don't have this, it just kind of loses momentum. So we want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row to allow them to actually do so. But there's a few that have talked, and I know the Trash Pirates are one of them that they've got people lining up ready to go. So we'll be ready once it starts.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Thank you. I had one other one that I saw on our internal and external communications, and that was objective 3 on there. That's timeliness of processing building permits. That's been a hot button issue for a year for me. And hopefully the expansion, and there's more folks that will be on the payroll, but that'll be paid out of the building department. Hopefully that will cure a lot of that problem. I think as that expands, we'll be reaching out to other cities close by to do theirs also, but I want to be sure Madeira Beach is taken care of first, and we get these things going, and we start making our customers successful in the permitting department, and give them a list of what they need to do to get things done, and not be an adversary, but be a proponent of theirs in getting their buildings built.
Mayor, if I may, along those lines, we are looking at more transparency into the whole building permit process. And we're looking first at a Munis project or product that we have, but unfortunately, it doesn't do the transparency that we want. We want anybody to be able to look up on our dashboard and see maybe there's something going on at the neighbor's house. Well, do they have a building permit? Well, somebody can go up and look and see if they have a building permit. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and put a pool in my house And so I get a contractor and, you know, give him his deposit, and then I don't see anything going on with the permit and so forth, so I can go in myself, get a login, and since I'm the homeowner, and they will update me through email, plus I can go in and log in myself and see where my permit's at. And so when I call the contractor and say, hey, listen, it shows here that you're missing 3 items before they issue my building permit. Why aren't you getting those items in? And, you know, because a lot of times, and again, I'm not making excuses, but a lot of times when I go back to research it, there's a notification that's been given to the owner and to the contractor, and for some reason the owners didn't get the notification, but the contractor's telling them something different. So this way it's open. Anybody can come in and take a look at it. We can look at it internally just to see where we're at and making sure that we're providing the best service we can. So I think that's going to go a long way to hopefully improve it. And Seminole has a similar type system over there. We're trying to work with the software that we have and try to get that to function. If not, we've got a plan B that we've worked out with Andrew using a Clarion. So, you know, either way, we should be able to get this thing moving within the next 8 to 10 weeks, I think we talked about today. So, and hopefully, you know, we won't have to discuss those issues anymore. But you're right, it's just, you know, making sure that we do the right things, make the right notifications, and we go from there.
Yeah, I know we were bogged down a lot by ETA, but there's also other permits that seem like they've really just taken a long, long time. While we're on that subject, we're also having builders that are taking forever completing their projects. I think we've got one that's about, 3 years now on a house?
3 years on one house, so we haven't gotten with Tom yet on it, but we are looking at, you know, entertaining at least 1 or 2 ordinances, one involving residential, the other one involving commercial, or maybe they can be wrapped in together, but with time limitations for, you know, the building permits and the fact that they keep moving. So, you know, the building code specifies, you know, how long the building permit's for, but we can set something more restrictive. And if we wanted to say, hey, you know, you have to get a house done, a single-family house done in a year, I think that's, you know, an acceptable process. But, you know, we'll bring it back before you all and through Tom. I want to make sure we do everything the right way, and hopefully you'll be seeing that in a couple months, because I understand another contractor has like 13 other lots in our city, and I don't have enough years left in my life to have to deal with those houses getting done. So.
Well, and their contractors are having problems getting materials too, right now.
Well,
and
but 3 years, they weren't 3 years ago.
Right. I know, but I'm just, I'm
Yeah,
talking to them.
Yeah, they are.
Things going on in my neighborhood, and they're like, oh my God.
And prices are through the roof.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So,
you know.
we'll have to account for some of those nuances, but I think we need to come up with something, just so, you know, they have some pressure to get that job done.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you bringing up this subject, because I hear about this particular issue 3 times a week minimum. 3 times a week minimum. And Bob, you're right. Transparency is what we need, and we can't go looking to other cities to try to get their business when we can't even take care of what we got going on here. I've got people that call, they'll call, and we have no system that tells anyone where their permit is in the process. I mean, people are waiting 8, 9 months for individual permits for smaller projects to put, roofs on. We got to do better than that, especially if the idea is we built that downstairs to expand out and to generate revenue. The word on the street is not good right now. And like I said, 3 times a week at a minimum, I hear from somebody different about this. Now, obviously, there's not much I can do about it, but there's got to be a software out there that doesn't take us 8 to 10 weeks to at least be able to track these individual permits. I hear just horror stories about blueprints getting lost and plans that get stamped and then they disappear in the system. We can't have that. We can't have that. And I hate having to answer the same question over and over and over again, and I know by now it's not just sour grapes. I know that there is some validity to these things, because it just doesn't seem to be happening. So I'd really like, 8 to 10 weeks is nice, but I'd really like to have something where somebody can call in or somebody can go online and say, okay, where's my permit at? Okay, it's in this building, it's in this department. If you have any questions, please call XYZ. And they get straight answers, that we don't have somebody running around at the front desk trying to find, I'm trying to find the plans or the blueprints or whatever. We got to do better. We've got to do better. Again, of all the issues I hear about on it, number one, by far, beyond belief. Okay, thanks.
That's hands down for me also. That's a major part of the...
Well, let's get them some help. I mean, a lot of things have been going on, and if our folks are stretched that thin, I mean,
yeah, and
we get them some help.
well, and we're...
And we hire someone that can load in all that stuff.
But we're, in a way, we're talking out of both sides of our mouths, because we're talking about we're getting too many people on the payroll, and then we're talking about adding people on. And I agree that we need to get that caught up. I know we've had some issues with personnel lately. We've had a turnover in the building department, and that, on top of the storm, has thrown us behind. And even when you put a new person on, that person is not up to speed when they first come on board. So it's going to be, unfortunately, a process probably for a couple of more months. It's going to be June before they can even move in down there to where we can staff up. I mean, the building department is, 75% of what's upstairs right now. It's hard to get to a conference room because of plans that are all over the tables. So, even if we get a new system, then we've got to have a data entry person, at least temporarily, to catch that up, I would think. Is that not the case, or is that something we'll probably, as new permits are applied for, then they'll be put into the system, and nothing that's in the pipeline right now will be entered?
Well, they must have some sort of computerized file for each project.
We're under Munis is the system right now, and with Munis, it does, if there's an inquiry, it does have to be looked up in the system. But there are comments, and it's when the permit comes in, it's logged into Munis. We have been getting electronic copies of the plans, so they can be uploaded right away. The old files, they were scanning them in, and since they were short one person at the counter because of somebody that left, they've been working hard to fill that position. But so there is a system. Is it the perfect system? It's information in the system is only as good as what they get. But residents will be able to put in their own permit application and see it electronically submitted. They can track it, but we're not there yet. And I think the old records, if my conversation or my memory serves me right, we were looking at a way of doing a data dump with the old information and putting it in, but I'm not sure if we're that far along yet to make sure that we could do that. Is that correct, Andrew?
Right, well, we've got an old system called BDMS, and that's what the city was using prior to 2015, when then migrating to Munis. So, and BDMS is still the system that's currently being used for BTRs, business tax receipts. So we're moving completely away from BDMS. My Clarion development team is building an online communication platform with workflow system to capture new business applications, and then go through a workflow approval process, go through planning and zoning, establish that workflow system that on their dashboard they'll receive the task received to them to take action on a new business application. We're anticipating getting that built within the next, right in the middle of it, probably the next 2 to 3 weeks.
then demo that to the city. If the city, if management likes that and wants to move then forward into the same technology solution for permitting, we're going to move right into that. And so that's the kind of 8 to 10 weeks that we could have business licenses and permitting completely handled with a web-based system. As far as the data, we're pulling that data out of BDMS, putting it into our new database and our new solution. We would do the same thing with permitting. So excited for what the future could hold in terms of moving out of these outdated legacy systems and into something more state-of-the-art. So change is coming soon.
So when you downloaded, all the permits that are in process now will be in that system. It won't be simply new ones coming in at that point.
That's right. We'll get a data dump of all the old permits, migrate that into our new platform, and then also all new permit intake will be in that system.
Okay.
And as Bob explained, it'll be interactive through online communications, where we enter comments, the applicant gets an email notifying them, they go online, they enter their permit number, parcel ID, open up the permit, they see what it is, then they can attach documents, send back and forth, rather than the manual paper-based system that we have now. So all those cool changes will be happening, and yeah, would love to show you as we progress and have a demo ready.
Okay, and I'm sure you guys are fast tracking it just as much as you can. I know, Linda, you in particular have had such a load on you between ETA and everything else and all these large projects coming in. I know it's been quite a task. So whatever we can do to help you, let us know. I've got a few hours spare each day.
But sleep, right?
Okay. Does anyone else have anything on our section of this, on the commission section, that they want to bring to the forefront?
I'd like to see this thing completely reorganized, because we have page 29, page 3 of 61, 4, and 5 for just us. And, I mean, look at safety and healthy living. Objective 1, to encourage protection and preservation of the public's health, safety, and welfare, blah, 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 blah. We need concrete things. All street signs should be analyzed annually for improvement. Why is that under Board of Commission? I don't understand this document.
Does that mean I can go around with a big pipe wrench and twist these signs that are parallel with the street and get them at an angle?
Well, if you see it, report it, but I'm just looking at this, scratching my head. And I've gone through each one, I'm like, done, we're doing it, never even did this. This is different from the one on the previous page. This is not us, this is HR. I mean, I just went through and go, I think we need to just not try to pigeonhole our objectives into internal and external communications, financial sustainability. I mean, that's pretty much the number one thing we do, is I think we've all agreed, we need to bring in more money, we need to be smarter about spending our money, and we need to pick good, cool projects that are going to help the city to get it out. So I don't know why we're pigeonholed, human capital. That make sure we have the best employees ever. We know that. I mean, of course that's something. But I don't think we need it written here.
Yeah, a lot of these things are givens.
Right. Vice Mayor, I couldn't agree with you more. This is very wordy, and there's quite a few pages for a group that's supposed to be working part-time. So, we could condense this down. I mean, I think a lot of them are common sense. I agree with you as reading through it. But yeah, I think a couple of really just strong initiatives for the year That's about all, and they can be pretty broad unless it's, you know, something in particular that we're doing, but they can be pretty broad. But yeah, a lot of these things are just common sense, and a lot of these things, you're 100% correct, fall on the department heads. And I think, you know, we've got to encourage more time with them in meetings like this to be able to talk to them about what they're doing, how we can help them get to the goals that they want to do. So, like I said, we're gonna have a bang up fun time during budget time. I think we can really get on the right path, and everybody have a specific lane to stay in, and I think that'll help us out a lot. I think there's a reason why there's a lot of convoluted things going on, because not everybody's staying in their lane. We got a lot of people doing a lot of different things.
Right.
Stay in your lane. Let's, you know, have particular project for particular departments, and let's follow up on the things that we talk about. But, you know, that's the one thing I hate. I mean, and it's not Bob, it's not anybody. It's happened for the 3 years I've been up here. All of a sudden, something gets brought up, and we talk about it, we have a plan, and then, poof, never hear about it again. And
Well, that's why I tried to say, okay,
Right.
what action are we going to take in looking at these departments? Let's have this document so that we can start playing, you know.
Yep, condense it, set objectives, and let's follow up on them as we go with our department heads. I think that's a great idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe we need well, I know we need to talk to the city manager, and maybe we need to go over it department by department, and maybe have the department head there. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Bob?
Well, that's generally what we do through the budget process, the way that I'm used to running the process, and the department comes in and projects what their goals are for that year, that they're, you know, and they should coincide obviously with the commissions, but also, you know, what they're doing, what they did the last year, and then what their plans are to continue moving forward in the next year. A lot of them have capital projects, which you'll see as we get into June. Andrew again talked about that today, and, you know, making sure our timetable is set. But, you know, that'll come back before the commission, so it's another entity that we put into the budget. But the goals and everything, I think, need to have some meat to them and what we want to accomplish, and have that gear up with the amount of money that they have within their department for that year. And I think, you know, Jay had some insight of, you know, because these type of goals were things that a former commission had, and maybe he's can answer your questions on that.
Financial guy.
Yeah, so just to give you guys a quick idea, I think it was about 4 years ago, we had a strategic planning session here, and it was the department heads and commissioners at the time. We had a moderator, and she came in and basically said, had the commissioners, we didn't speak, the commissioners spoke, and they said, list all your goals and your overall, the big goals, and that's what those 7 are. I think they listed more, but they kind of condensed them into the different, you know, groups and all that. And then once they went through that, then they listed below essentially what, you know, 3 measurable goals within each of those objectives. So then our direction was to apply those 7 goals within our department into the budget as well. So looking at, and I forget them off the top of my head, but looking at number 1, how could I in the rec department figure out a way, you know, 3 measurable goals for communication and 3 measurable goals for transportation and safety. So basically it was set some objectives to try to, so, you know, ideally, we're not ideally, coincidentally, we're working off of the goals from 4 years ago. So if you guys have different, I think the intent was, you know, you go, okay, well, you know, we like 1 through 5, but 6 and 7 aren't necessarily our favorite. Let's create our own, and, you know, kind of massage it that way. So that way, when we're putting the budget together and we're setting objectives as department heads and the city manager's office as well, we have a clear vision, you know, because we can't always, you know, talk every day. So it's, okay, well, we've got these 7, so I've got a decent framework that I can work off of and go from there. So I think that was kind of what they were going for at the time.
Do you remember how much that?
Makes sense.
Sorry.
And that
Sorry?
makes sense.
Yeah.
That someone came in and said, okay, commissioners, you need to come up with 3 growth management goals. You know, this is how you do it, or this is how you think, you know, trying to train, or in every department, but not every department has to do all that, is all. I mean, some of these are really tortured, in my view.
Well, a lot of this, we don't want you guys bogged down on doing a lot of unnecessary,
goals for healthy
common
living.
sense, everyday stuff. That-
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, these were written 4 years ago. Look at page, 31 of 61.
I'm afraid to.
It's actually really good. You'll like it. Look at the goal infrastructure. Objective number 1, continue the development of web-based permitting, inspections, and permit tracking system.
Yeah.
So 4 years we've been doing this, all right? So that's what I'm saying. That's the number one thing that we're hearing. And the reason it's the number one thing, it's not, people don't mind, people are pretty patient. They don't mind waiting. What they don't like is not having information. They don't like calling up here and it's like they've been forgotten and they don't get answers. And that's the problem. And with a web-based permit inspection and permit tracking system, we wouldn't have that issue. So, but I agree, you know, I remember when they did that workshop for that, it cost the city, another study that cost the city entirely too much money. Vice Mayor Price laid down 4 or 5 initiatives just off the top of her head there. That's pretty much what we need. Boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom. Here's to 2022. Let's go.
Yeah.
Boom. Let's follow up on each one of these. Let's get them done. 2023, we'll talk again. Right?
Well,
That's all. That's all. That's all I'm trying to do. Let's condense
I
this
think
down.
that's
squeeze it.
what we do, and we start with letting the departments tell us what's my biggest headache every day? It's the influx of all these phone calls from people that, we can't get back to quick enough, or we don't have an answer for them quick enough, and so then that is a terrific goal, is the web-based permitting, inspection, blah, blah, blah,
Right, and how much manpower and labor are we wasting by people running around looking for files of people's things when they go, boom, right there.
Right.
Whatever this program is, it's worth its weight in gold. I'll pay for it myself. I mean, we're really at this point, it's kind of crazy because we're sitting here and we're talking about this, but we're running people around. Oh, we can't afford it. Well, heck yeah, we can, because that could replace 2 people probably. Okay, so.
Okay, I am making a note. Doug will pay for programs. While we're on page 31, and this is kind of jumping around, but to your point, I had made a note on here, and it's a sign I saw in another city over their permitting department. Make the customer successful. And we got to help these guys through the process. A lot of these homeowners that are getting their permits, they don't know what to do on this stuff, and we got to help them not be in an adversarial relationship with them. And as I put it, and Mr. Daniels, you've heard me say this, the Columbo effect. Don't tell them one thing they need to do, so they go and do it. And then they come back and you say, oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
And then they go and do that, and they come back and they say again, one more thing. We can't have that. We just need to make the customer successful. And again, the complaints I get are the same ones you get, and probably the same one Vice Mayor Price gets and Commissioner Hodges gets, and you probably have heard the same thing. So that's a big one, and now that Doug's volunteered to pay for them, I guess we're good, but we're probably going to have, will that take a data entry person, or will this be done as the permits are applied for? Are we going to go back and put other information in this system when we get it?
The intent is that we have a similar process to application. It's just that as soon as the information comes in, it gets entered into the computer system. Or then documents can be scanned so that we immediately have a copy of the plan in the system. There's no messing around with paper all over the place.
Okay, so it'll self-populate from the other program that we...
Yes, we would do a dump on, as I said, information we already have in the other programs so that the information is there back too. Keeping in mind that we have almost all of it online. At least we have it on computer, and we have things scanned. We are behind because we lost the scanning person, and we're not keeping up with it on a daily basis. And that's, our intent was get to the point where as soon as it comes in, it gets scanned into the system, so that we can all work from it, you know, from different positions, and also you have it in the system, it can't be lost.
Yeah, so a lot.
We had some trouble with things going in the wrong directions during the COVID quarantine, because a lot of us were still working, and we had a new person at the front desk who really didn't have a lot of connections. Frank was still coming in, and our planner, our current planner, was still coming in doing permitting, but we found out after the front desk person was gone that they weren't actually bringing all the plans back, or they filed them in odd places, so we had to go around and figure out what they had done. So it's difficult at times to monitor and make sure that everybody sticks to the program. And what we did in planning was we set up a really strict handling process, so that when they come into us, we take the plans and we lock them up. Nobody else is allowed to take the plans out until we've looked at them and signed them out, and cards are always assigned to them, just like you would in a library system. Because things used to just go missing. Somebody'd come down to look for it. Instead of just asking us for the information, they'd actually take the plans out of our office and then run off with them and not put them back, and then we'd wonder, well, and they were really just trying to help, but you've got to be really careful managing public documents, and especially those that are already in a process, that they get handled in a recorded manner and consistently. So we had gotten to the point where that wasn't happening anymore, and then there were a couple glitches during the changeover with COVID and different people coming and going, but that hasn't been as big an issue. But another thing that would happen when we have it all scanned in is that a lot of what happens is that we get plans in, and we take them in at the front and stamp them in, which kind of starts the clock on them. Then they get to the back, and we review them and find it's not even a complete application. We can't do the review because you didn't turn some of the data that's actually required for review. And so, you know, we'll call the contractors, tell them we need these things. We'll give them 5 lists, a list of 5, they'll bring in 2. We send a list out again, we're still missing these 3, they bring 1 more, and it just goes on and on like this. If the owner could see that, we've been adding in the process where every time we notify the contractor, we do an email notice also to the owner so they can see what's happening, so they can control it a little better. But if they could really go on the dashboard and see, it's actually not a complete application yet, you can't finish it, and we've contacted the contractor and they're still owed the following things. They would have better control over their own employee, in this case the contractor too. That helps a lot. It helps a lot. We have the same kind of problems in Gainesville, a much bigger system obviously, but we did the same thing. It's notification and communication, as you're saying. It has to be a tight system. Everybody has to adhere to it all the time, so management's important and procedures, but we're trying to get that all worked out and streamlined.
Well, I think once it's in place, you'll find the consumer is the one that's going to be having those difficult discussions with their, you know, not us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all right. So do we want to just have somebody write down those main goals that the mayor just set forth and have us come back, and any other ones that we think of that are super important we want to add to the list, and streamline our own list?
We can do that, but in the meantime, why don't we go through to see if anyone has, I went through and made a couple of notes on things I wanted to discuss, and probably y'all did too. That doesn't mean we can't go ahead and go through this to knock this out of the way, and then we can come back and another day go through it departmentally or however y'all feel like is best.
Well, some of these we have done or are currently doing, like objective number 1, make the public meetings at times to generate attendance. I think we've done that. All our meetings are usually 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
This one was a little earlier today, but, so I mean, we can just get rid of that one.
Yeah.
We're addressing the timeliness of the building permits. We're not getting reports from the committees. I don't know what the committees, I kind of know what the committees are doing, but.
Well, for the most part, we've got the library board, we've got, civil service. That's pretty much it now, is
Planning.
And the planning.
Planning, and they're
Yeah,
working
planning and
they're
zoning.
working hard.
Yeah.
You get the minutes from the planning commission. The civil service board, hope to, bring back the handbook that we've been working on, and diligently we've been working on that, and so we'll probably have another meeting here, shortly. It's my understanding I'm gonna have a copy that I can proof, and, so I'll be working with Bob to have that meeting set up. And that's really it, other than, we do have Chuck Dillon, who's on our roadway construction one-man task force, but, he's usually pretty good, and, he's right in there getting the information, so.
Okay.
Basically, it's Marina, are we gonna get a feasibility study on that? Are we getting that anytime soon?
The feasibility study, I think, is coming within the next couple of weeks, isn't it?
That's what I've been told, and, there was a piece that, they had me do some research on dealing with the canal, and I did reach out to Mr. Pruitt, and, he's all for our project, and he just would like to see it before he makes a commitment, but he's willing to work with us.
So that's
Okay.
one of our goals, right?
Yes,
The
and-
marina, the parks,
Right.
the beach groins. Those are some pretty big.
Yeah, and
Three of those going for doing
we've
well.
got at least one company that will come in and make a presentation to us about the hydro storage facility, also, on a joint public-private venture.
Did you see that one, the automated one that takes the boat out and puts your car in?
I've actually visited one down in, Fort Myers.
There's our parking problem maybe solved.
And from what I understand from, F3, they do not have the ability to do that, other than they were talking about, depending on how high we stack, using the ground floor for parking automobiles.
Oh, yeah,
So that could potentially give us some
absolutely.
relief there. And keeping bays available to rent out for boat maintenance. So, and I know we're way off subject by talking about that right now, but,
All right. Well,
but,
it's one of our goals, right?
well,
Yes.
yeah.
So I think we've talked about the main ones. I don't like working from this because it's too squishy and general and, I don't know.
If I can make a suggestion, if it's okay, we can take the comments that you made on objectives that you want to see, and as part of the budgeting process, the different departments can go through what they've been accomplishing during the course of the year, and how they want to address those comments that you are making, giving us direction as the specific departments that are involved. Some of them are shared. Obviously, when we deal with Public Works and we deal with the Marina and the high and dry, that's
Right.
but then there's also options on how we want to do the high and dry as well. So, but just using it as an example, and then that way you have that information, and we can do it through the budget workshops, we can do it through our own workshops, and then we'll work on scheduling something in reference to the personnel positions and the salaries, and I'll get with Andrew, and we'll get that cranking too. So as soon as we're ready, we can, get it on the schedule. Would probably be a special workshop that we'd have just dealing with that one issue.
Okay.
And of course, we have a new HR director, so maybe, Mr. Lilly can just look at that and just think of it in terms of, like, do I have a problem I need to have fixed?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I need to fix it? and then maybe what is a wish list? What would I love to be able to do with this department? And then that will help people focus.
Yes.
Well, and that's what we can do for every department. I mean, it sounds like,
Have everyone just answer those two I mean, I'm not
Right.
just making this up. I mean, there's.
I agree.
I think we can simplify this.
I'm a huge advocate of simplification, and instead of cornering this in different boxes, and then it turns into a repetitive process, let's just hit on, okay, what's important to my department? What do I want to accomplish? What are my big ticket items? And let me lay that out. And then we can bring that, to future budget workshops, just so you can get a flavor of, okay, what's important to each department, and get, that way you can get a conceptual understanding of what they want to accomplish for next year that factors into, into budgetary decisions. And so we can significantly truncate this entire document to those bullet point items per department. I can have the departments work on that, and then maybe in conjunction with that, you can have your own bullet points that are important to you, and that'll be the foundation of putting this piece together. And maybe that can be a part of our initial budget workshop. So to Commissioner Andrews' point, instead of us just delving right into the numbers, maybe we can have a kind of an intro meeting. Let's kind of talk about history. Let's look at our fund balance. Let's look at year in review. Let's look at personnel, number of personnel, salaries, costs, other operating expenses from years ago to today. Do a little bit of historical analysis to give you some context to make more informed decisions for the future. And maybe we can do that as kind of a workshop number one, again, to help you all along once we finally put the numbers in front of you, instead of just slapping them down and looking, okay, what is last year, what is this year? Because that can kind of be an exercise in futility if you don't have good information behind you as far as what were those expenses in previous years and what do we want to accomplish in the future to help us get there. It might mean more personnel in one department, might mean less, better technology. Those are the things that's going to help drive sound decision-making.
Exactly, and that meeting will help make the numbers that we receive in the next meeting make sense.
Yeah.
Because then we'll know, okay, this is their objective, this is what they're doing, these are the people that they need to have in comparison to a few. Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
I do too.
Yeah, like, let's squeeze an electronic sign for 150th in there somewhere. There's communication. Oh.
Commissioner Andrews will pay for it.
No. No,
Well, I haven't heard of this before. What do you mean, like a
that
big...
one's on Commissioner Hudson. Doug's already got an assignment.
Oh, like a what's going on in Madeira Beach kind of sign?
Yes.
Or? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Like the one we've
Yeah,
talked about.
like a nice, big, beautiful color one. And not
Like the
just
one we've got out here.
Yes.
Nobody, unless you happen to be coming to City Hall, you never see it.
Right.
So,
Let's move it. Give it
again,
simpler when I'm here.
we've got to get everybody looking for grants, and that brings us to something I see under fire department, and I've got a quick question there. And goal, financial sustainability, the very last sentence on page 15 of 61. Finance department discouraged seeking grants if less than $50,000.
Not Andrew. That was a previous.
Is that a previous, okay.
I would apply for a firehouse grant, for instance, that would open up, the max you can ask for is $25,000. Wouldn't be given the information, told it was a waste of time, so.
Well, scratch that off.
I've already applied for it
Go for all
twice.
you can.
I applied
Okay.
for it twice so far this year.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, that was a bad goal.
Information technology. Am I jumping around way too much here? I'm just flipping through if,
Are we still on our own?
no.
We're up to 19?
I'm back to, yeah.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, whatever happened to our iPads that we all initially had?
Problem is the iPads weren't communicating with the system well.
Physically, what happened to them?
Physically, what happened?
Physically, what happened to them?
I believe they're still here in the inventory, but I will find out for you.
Okay, I just want to be sure they didn't go back and we didn't get credit or whatever. Or, you know, maybe they went to, Planning Commission or something, I don't know. But
I know the Planning Commission did have iPads, and they currently do. I'm sorry? Yeah, so that was part of the problems we were having with the iPads, and I have not authorized any redeployment, outside of the city on any of those, items.
So have they been called back in if they're not communicating, or have y'all still got them? Okay.
Well, let's collect them and sell them.
Well,
If we're not
we'll get
using
the
them, then
technology
that's
that'll work.
right.
So,
I don't know, I'm just,
something to add for the budget stuff.
I'm just going through, any of y'all speak up if there's something you want to talk about. Also, Johns Pass Village, beautifies Johns Pass Village to encourage more and attract more tourism. Our problem at Johns Pass Village right now is we need a place to put them. So what we may want to look at is pursuing a parking garage next year down there. Law enforcement, we can have all the ordinances we want, but if we're not enforcing them, they're of no value. That's all I'll say about that. Parks, I don't know when this was written, but it says on here for 2021 budget year. Update parks to include native species, drought and salt tolerant vegetation, less dependent on irrigation and fertilizer, maintain welcome appearance at all parks. Even outside City Hall, we got some rough looking spots, so I just would like to see us keep working on that.
In some way, our greenery that's out on the back side, the water side, isn't as good as our front side, and you know, I think we might have gone a little bit too far on the fact that we don't want to irrigate and maintain, and we've gotten away from some of the greenery that I think we need to have. So it's got to be a better mix. I think we went too far to the other side and maybe following this objective too far. And I think that's with some of the pocket parks too, as we look at renovating them, you know, and you heard Jay's plan, and I think it's a great plan, but we want to get back to having green parks too, and not just, you know, our low impact vegetation. I think we need to go back to having people, they can sit down and have a picnic, put out a spread, do whatever they want to do. You can't do that when you're dealing with the native vegetation that we had and sand. So just my opinion, and if you all agree, then that's something that we can work towards.
well, I would always want to see more plants than not, or more greenery than not.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to start with our main corridors first, and then get back in the neighborhoods. I know people in my neighborhood, you know, I told them, wait, we're gonna start a park initiative, and, you know, I can get $100 out of everybody on this street, and we'll go down, and we'll make a garden, or we'll put in a launch for kayaks, or blah, blah, blah. Well, people got all excited about that. And I think people will want to contribute to their own pocket park.
Well, that's,
you know,
yeah.
You know, and then we have, I know Jeff Beggins came up to me a year ago and said, we will sponsor a park for you.
And
Yeah, I mean,
and
so
he's working.
once we get going.
He's working with Jay, actually,
Okay,
on getting this going.
yeah.
He's,
So it's
I
terrific.
think a part of the 501c3, isn't he, Mr. Hatch?
I mean, I think once we get that started, we can start promoting it and asking people, and what do you want, you know?
Well, Crystal Isle is a good example, Teardrop Park.
We have a plan.
There is, yeah, but, you know, in reality, there's no reason there couldn't be a homeowners association over there to possibly do something in that park. I mean, they have come to the city wanting a new sign put up for the entrance of Crystal Isle, but in my opinion, it's not up to the city to pay for a sign to mark their neighborhood any more than it is for them to put up, a sign for any other neighborhood in town. So I think they need to probably look at a Crystal Isle Civic Association or something.
Yeah, yeah, and we can suggest that.
Yeah.
I do know that some of the people, especially the ones on Lillian, they don't want a park out there. They like it as it is now. They don't want swings and slides and stuff. They don't want stuff like that. So just cleaning up the park and fixing it up for people to go to is what they're looking for.
So the kids can get out there and play soccer or football or whatever.
There's not that many young kids in the area, to be honest with you.
So.
You just want to keep it green and something pretty to look at outside their front door, right? They're lucky enough to have that nice park there, a couple benches maybe or something.
And they are working on it,
beautiful
too.
trees and, you know.
Okay. I don't have anything big, really until we get over to the Marina. Objective 3, enhance the aesthetics of the marina and overall image of the marina. And we mentioned fence. We talked about a fence a few months ago. I hadn't heard anything else back. It just evaporated.
I know we were working on getting some prices for the vinyl fence. I think my recollection, I'll have to go back and probably look at my notes, but I thought that was kind of where the commission wanted to go, because we had the three options, and I'll have to see where we are with getting the...
Here's Brian.
I didn't know you were behind me, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. So we researched vinyl fences. You folks had mentioned you did not want white. Tan and other colors are special orders and significantly more expensive, like almost 50% more. So now you're talking in the $15,000 range for an off color. One of the other things we talked about in that meeting was getting the camera system done before we put a fence up. That's something we'll be presenting to you folks at the next meeting in May. So I'm happy to go, do this project. Whatever the kind of consensus is, you guys, whatever direction you want to go. You want to go vinyl fence? You want to go some sort of fence wrap?
I think we didn't like the canvas one, right? Because that's going to get ripped up or whatever. Vinyl sounds, I thought a white vinyl fence would be, if it's a significant savings and we can get a decal with our logo on it, our logo looks great with a white background, I mean, we can jazz it up in that manner.
Yeah, well, I don't want it just dropped. So how much is a white fence?
I recall about 10,000 is what I remember when I researched this the last time. So I can get back to you on that for sure to get you that hard number.
Yeah, that sounds steep to me.
Installed.
That still sounds steep to me from my dealings with a white vinyl privacy fence.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, let's get it done. It's going to dress up the entrance of the city. Security cameras, wasn't that on the budget a few years ago, Doug? Hadn't we? So what are we waiting for?
They did the RFP, and they're now getting ready to bring it forward to the commission for the expenditure.
Right, yeah, so the RFP is back, we have the bids. We're evaluating them right now. Right now, the big thing is, the IT portion of it. A lot of bandwidth issues, so that's being evaluated by, one of the network people, higher-ups, for us, and we will bring that to you for a decision in, at the May meeting.
Okay. Yeah, because my Ring camera works great. That's also, are there any grants you're looking into?
There are. I looked into a grant, about a year ago, and things changed. We can get a grant to redo the parking lot. So actually, in my capital budget, I have a standby project, making an assumption we don't go high and dry. This is off the table if that's the direction you folks decide to go. But we can get a grant to redo the trailer parking area, 75-25 grant. So we can get a decent amount of money out of the, if we get it approved, to redo the entire parking area.
So are we 25 or are we 75?
We're 25.
So you say if we do not put a high dry storage facility in?
Correct. This is for trailer storage.
There are grants out there, from what I understand, from FWC for high dry storage facilities.
And that's one of the aspects that Cardno is, the consulting firm is researching as part of the project.
Okay, all right, good.
And Brian did successfully get us a grant that was paid in October, the Clean Vessel Act grant, $12,591. So we've
right. That was to replace the pump out station on the fuel dock.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and and that goes for every department in the city. Look for grants.
And tell us when you get them. I mean, we get this
Yep.
sheet, but we want to say yay to people like, like Karen Paulson and Megan Powers got us a $88,000 grant. This was just in January. So we need to be, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that would be great to share with us each, whenever we get one.
Okay.
The other thing is stormwater. When are we looking at Marguerite and Pruitt? Was it both of those streets?
Yeah.
Yeah, we started by looking at the work that's already been done, to the preliminary work, and then looking at the updating to make sure that the information's still correct, and then getting one of the contractual engineering firms on board. I'm not sure if Jamie chose one or not yet. So that'll be something I'll be working with Megan on as we move forward.
Okay.
There is, and I don't know what the email that you got or whatever information in reference to the funding, but there was also a $500,000 worth of funding towards that project, the Section 3 and 5, and that was submitted to the state through Linda Cheney's office. So I don't know if that cut as well, but I'll try to verify that tonight.
Okay, thank you. I think some of that was being voted on today.
Well,
certainly on the groins.
Yeah, I think the groins were running a different path. I think the transportation dollars to the roadways and the stormwater, I think that already was passed and it moves to the governor's desk. And I did a letter today, asking for his support, hopefully not vetoing it and letting us get it. And I gave some history and so forth. So hopefully we'll be successful. And Susky had me forward the letter to them, and they're presenting it to the governor. So.
Okay. While we're on that subject, I want to thank Mr. Trask for his email regarding where we stand on all the things that are going before the legislature now. That was a big help to keeping up with what all's going on. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything on this stuff? on department initiatives. Okay. Next is, consideration of revocation of the city right-of-way for restaurants and bar seating. City Manager Daniels, and before we start on this, since the mask order has not been rescinded, I think I would prefer to let them keep having these areas until that mask order is rescinded, because it's going to be pretty hard for them to move everything back inside until we've got that. I don't know the rest of the feeling, but anyhow.
Well, that's why I just put it on the agenda, so you all could have a discussion. We hadn't talked about it in a period of time, and I'm okay with it. I was just looking at the fact that when we instituted it, the restaurants were open at 25% capacity, and the bars weren't even open yet. And then they went to 50%, and now they're at 100%. And also there's a deviation too. What we dealt with was the public right-of-way, and there are some establishments that have taken some of their parking that's required for them to be in business and have added tables and chairs into it, which is in violation of our comp plan as well as our land use plan. And I know I talked to Linda about that, and that's an issue that we don't really have the power that we can go and make that change. We can control our right-of-ways and allow people in the right-of-ways. So I think we probably need to work on making that clearer. And I know one of the establishments went back to setting up shop again. They had moved their stuff out of their parking spaces, and their parking was very limited to start with. And we're very liberal with our parking requirements. And I drive by it every day, and I saw it's back up again with a tent. So those are things that we are going to have to look at and try to get them to comply. But it's really, that's outside of our purview. We'd have to go back and change our own comp plan to make that right. So, but I agree with you, whatever you all would like to do. I just wanted to bring it up so you can discuss it, and we can keep it the same way. I'm okay with that.
I think the county's meeting on it again on, is it the 12th?
May 11th.
11th?
Yes, what I heard, if I may, when I talked to Mr. Burton yesterday, is that they're looking at possibly June 1st, but it just all depends what happens between now and that date. Things change all the time. We've gotten a pretty good experience so far with our positivity rates. I think the whole idea of the vaccination is starting to stall. Because there's a number of people that don't want it for some reason. And so, it's, I think as long as the positivity goes lower and our hospitalization rate and all those key factors that they look at, hopefully we'll be here June 1st without a mask on.
I was sort of ready to come into this and say, look, they've got 100% capacity. I don't know if you've ever recently walked from like the Bamboo Beer Garden to the Bell Tower. You're like fighting people. You can't walk down our sidewalk. And there's clothes back out there, by the way, racks of clothes. And I think the tents, when you said tents, I'm like, yep. I don't think we need tents out in front of all our, get more space, I guess, but if we're back to 100%, and maybe at the minimum we say, okay, did we make these people sign liability waivers or something we didn't do any of that.
No.
And we haven't had any problems as far as I'm aware, but I don't like the city being on the hook for someone's tables and chairs and out on our property, as far as what could happen.
Well, yeah, for sure, if they're moving clothes racks out front.
Well, they are, John's Pass again. That was a big fight years ago, I remember. And between the clothes racks and then the tables, we got them extended way out to the street.
We didn't approve clothes racks being out there. That's right. Another enforcement thing.
Yeah.
It's another enforcement issue. So, that can be taken care of now,
Correct.
but,
And so, it's worse in some places than others. It almost depends how much space you have around your restaurant or your bar, right?
well, there's some that are so crowded you can't turn around in, whether they're in the street or in the building, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, excuse me. I think the vice mayor made a really valid point, though. Have we seen, besides a little crowding on the streets in Johns Pass, have we seen any real issues? I've talked to the deputies, and they didn't say there's been a big increase in problems or,
Yeah.
drunks running in the street or anything like that. In my opinion, I think the mayor's correct. I think you just table this. Let's see when this shrinks down. And, public perception is the other part too, because I think people have now, Florida's obviously a little different than some of the other states, but people are getting a little bit more comfortable going back out and doing things. But would they be if they have to be indoors? And that's not really our problem, but the business owners are a part of our community, so we want to make sure that they can sustain, because a lot of them went through some really tough times a year ago. So, my opinion, and just mine alone, I just think we table this for a little bit. I agree with the mayor. I think we just table this, and let's revisit it, a couple months down the road and see where we're at.
I'll agree.
Okay, how about we take a look at it at the May workshop?
Yeah, by that time, the vote will be in, and we
Yeah.
can decide
Right,
and give everyone enough notice to whatever they have to do.
yeah.
Just the procedure would have to be, it would have to come back to a meeting if that's what we
Right,
choose.
after the.
And then we do it, right, and then we do
Yeah,
a resolution, and you'd vote by resolution.
We could either do a special meeting on it or just hold it until the June regular meeting.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on this before we move on? Thank you, Bob. Capital improvements on the rec center.
All right. Good evening again. So you guys actually kind of set this up with the discussion in the lost fund, discussion about, revenue generation, that kind of stuff. So, I've discovered some new information since I posted this, so it's going to be a little bit off from what I gave you guys, but rather than pull the item, I'm seeking direction, and then we can move forward so it doesn't just die in the water. So, currently we have, I'm going to pull this down so I'm not mumbling. Currently we have $50,000 budgeted in the lost fund, for, essentially I think it was listed as a study of all words, for recreation expansions. And we kind of looked around the property, at two places that we had either, something that we could enclose, or something we could put a building on top of that would allow us to increase revenue within the rec department. So if you look at the first page there, I have two locations. I listed location A and location B. Location A is, the current, basketball court. And with the idea of that is, enclosing that basketball court with an indoor facility. And then location B is the back deck of the recreation center, and the idea would be to enclose that and create two additional rooms. Within that little cell there, I have listed, essentially expansion of programs that we could provide at either of those locations. And then if you go to, page 45 of 61, it gives you a drawing of the basketball court idea. And this would be an enclosed building, full HVAC, replace the court with a new surface, potentially nets to separate it for programming, whatever else. My favorite part there is the fourth item is photovoltaic cells on the roof. So the idea is we're going to have a new structure, engineer it with the idea that we can put solar on it and make it, not only is it a revenue generator, but it can save us on energy costs. And especially with a roof of that size, we think we could get, and again, this is all going to be part of the exploration, but it would allow for offsetting of those costs. And then, floor grommets for volleyball, there's other issues we can put in there, and then, a cost estimate for this, and then, key locks in the doors. If you go to the last page of that, which is, I believe, 56, that just gives you an idea of the drawing of the back deck, the area that would be enclosed. It would still leave a portion of deck over there, but, we would ideally have one room enclosed fully in the middle, and then the second one, we're looking to do roll-up doors or windows, whatever, to allow for open-air deck, similar thing. And also with the basketball court, we would do, roll-up doors on the ball field sides as well. So it could be used if we're having a tournament, it could be used for vendors, we can use it for whatever else. So it would be a true multi-purpose use facility. The biggest thing for either one of these would be an increase in after-school care and summer camp attendance. So the enrollment would increase, and that was one of those. I've got numbers that I did probably 4 years ago, basically showing the cost and expense of, or cost and revenue of, or P&L. There we go, P&L of the after-school care program. So that we are required some staff by licensing and a certain number of kids, but based on the pricing that we built, and we actually just increased the recreation fee for the after-school care. It was and I hate to say profitable, but it was a profitable service that we offer. So it covered its costs. So the new information I found is, as you guys can see, I have provided in here a cost estimate for engineering for either or. It turns out we had this basketball venue looked at a couple years ago, and that number is lower than what I provided to you. So knowing that, I think if the direction from you guys is that we want to look at something like this, then I would go to RFP for whatever facility. If we were to do one or the other, I would go to RFP for that and get those services bid out, just to make sure that we're getting the right price. The reason we went with this one, this is one of the continuing service agreements that we had. I had discussions with them, and he did his very best to get it below the $50,000 budget. And the one that I saw, and yes, it is a couple years old, is almost $10,000–$15,000 cheaper. So it tells me that there's some more legwork I've got to do. But I don't want to go further than that if we're not interested in, if we feel truly that this isn't the right time to do this, totally understand. But looking for, we discuss revenue generating ideas, and especially this $50,000 out of the loss fund, it's something that we have available to us now. So I just kind of wanted to get y'all's direction on it and see if you had any questions or anything else on it.
Jay, which facility do you think would be the best bang for the buck of the two?
Well, when it comes to after-school care, they both accomplish the same goal. They both allow more children in our after-school care program. One of the biggest things now is one of our staff members is I call him the basketball guy in Pinellas County. He's probably the tallest person in the city. It's easy to say that. So anyway, that program right now, we utilize the school for one season a year. We rent it for $1,500. They charge us for toilet paper, of all things, included in that. So it's one of those questions where we go, if we had this facility, that's a cost that we could cut, and not only would we not be running one season, we'd be able to run them as often as we wanted to, midday basketball league or whatever, but that's why I listed basketball, volleyball. There's a ton of, I think the basketball facility itself, with the implementation of the solar concept there too, would be, financially would make the most sense. It's probably going to be the more expensive of the two from the get-go, but at the same time, location B, and this is another thing that has to be fledged out with the engineering, is the patio might require an additional restrooms. And the engineer that we had on site told us that we are essentially landlocked with that building. It's not built to add restrooms. If we were ever to add restrooms, I don't know if you all have seen that concession stand out there. Eventually, it's going to need a look. But that, since we're not in the concession business, I don't want to touch that right now. It's like I said, any of the projects that we bring forward right now is something that we can account for revenue or a revenue generator as discussed by the board. So, if I had a choice, I would go with A, which is the basketball court, or that enclosure.
So then we have to air condition the basketball court.
Yes, ma'am, and that's included in
maintenance, ensure, flood-proof it. How much? I mean, So right now, we're using someone else's indoor, and it's only costing us $1,500.
Well, currently, we're actually, and I left that part out, currently, we're using Seminoles.
Okay.
Our program is operating at Seminole, and we split referee costs and a couple of, they're being very generous to us,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, we could eliminate that program if we wanted to, but, you know, it's another, one of the benefits we have is the more programs that we offer, the families can stay with us. They can, okay, we just finished basketball, what do you guys offer next? And if we say, well, we're not doing anything right now, or when basketball season rolls around, we go, we're out of it this year. And that's why we listed everything. And then, as silly as this is, I listed indoor pickleball in there. I don't know if you guys have seen, you know, one of our biggest headaches right now is the battle between pickleball and tennis and all that, and they come to us because it's free, but you know, now they're not playing there because we don't have anything inside. It's hot, and they like to enjoy it, but if it gets too hot and all that, so we're just looking for a solution, and then to generate as many additional programs and revenue and everything else as we can. So.
Yep. I don't know. I think that basketball court is too close to the street. Basically, you're going to have a big building because it's going to have to be tall to do, you know, have a basketball court. It could be, what, a two-story building right there, bang?
I believe the average is 30 feet at the peak, so when that comes together.
Yeah.
Something else about that was I was wondering why we didn't have bleachers in there.
In
the basketball court.
Like currently, or?
No, if we enclosed it.
Well, the idea, it would have space. If you look at if you're looking down at the map on 45, that portion of concrete to the right side of the court, I believe it's the south side, that's approximately 10 feet of concrete. So we'd be able to put similar bleachers to what we have now. There would be seating in there, and then if you look there's actually HVAC drawn on there as well. So it's all included. And then the end wall translucent siding panels, that's on the two ends. That's the idea of that is it allows more light during the day, so you don't have to use as much electricity on good days. And you know, especially during the cooler times of the year, we'll open the doors up and we'll let it be nice in there.
Yeah.
So.
Jay, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you on this, the adjoining field, I guess that's the tennis court. Is this going to be affected in some way? You enclosed the basketball court.
As it stands now, the tennis courts would be untouched. We might have to reevaluate their entrances, which would be changing just the location of a couple gates, but that's a movement of fence and the pouring of, you know, concrete panels in two places.
So right now, you're only looking at the basketball court, and that's all? That's all you're looking at to change?
Correct.
I think I'm going to have to see some sort of analysis of how much we think we can gain and how much this thing's going to cost.
Well, and that's totally fair, and that's why I didn't want to keep going on this and try to do an RFP and this other stuff if it didn't make sense, you know, after this conversation. So.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. I'm not in love with either one of them, frankly, but.
It looks like a big bite to chew when, you know, particularly if we're pushing ahead with a high dry storage facility, and I'd hate to see the city get stretched too thin on trying to get this stuff done to get revenue on board. I do think the Marina is going to be more advantageous to the city as far as developing revenue, because I could see where the basketball court's not going to be cheap, and if we got to put bathrooms in the other part, that isn't either. You said we may not even be able to on the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I know a lot of people love the rec center because they say it's the best around, and they don't know what they'd do if they didn't have the Madeira Beach Rec Center to be able to bring their kids to. And this is people that live in Seminole and other areas around, not just Madeira Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, so, you know, you got the pros and the cons of this are all over the place. You guys are exactly right. Me personally, I watched what, in the infancy stages when Jay and I were building those fields, and if you remember, we actually, a funny story is, these, we were asked to host a Division I, this big tournament that's pretty much why we built the fields in the first place, and the construction company didn't have people that were adept in building an actual collegiate field. We went on YouTube and we built these fields, a bunch of idiots like us, and they're beautiful, right? I mean, that's how great YouTube is. But my point is, then we watched as we took an old Little League, the Gulf Beaches Little League, was down to 60 kids before they moved off the fields. And we saw what building these, if you build it, they will come, right? I mean, ironically. But that league is up to, 300 and some odd kids with a waiting list. Now, there's a reason. It's, obviously they're beautiful fields and they're on the water, but it's the way it's handled through the rec center. Now you look at a project like this. What are the possibilities? I love capital projects that, this is no big secret to anybody, that have a revenue generating component to them. And something like this, a revenue generating program in perpetuity. Yes, there are going to be some legal, as far as insurance-wise, what we're going to have to get there. But I would believe, and Tom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that would probably be, just like the fields are, under the big umbrella policy that we'd have with the city anyway, right?
My belief is yes, that's correct.
Okay,
It
so there wouldn't
wouldn't
be
add
any
any
real
additional cost, premium-wise.
Okay, so there'd be nothing really as far as that's concerned. I would be really interested in seeing what the number would be. Is it $500,000? Is it $5 million? I don't know what that is. I don't think it's $5 million if you're building, Is there, I'm sure and you've probably already gone down this road, Clearwater St. Pete Sports Commission, is this something that they would look at as far as tossing it in? Would the EPA or whoever be interested if we're putting solar panels on it to throw us a couple of bucks that way? So I think there's a lot of, and I agree wholeheartedly, we need a little more information on it, but I think it's got a lot of potential, because I think once you enclose this, you're right, you watched we had, when we were in the old Pizza Hut building when they were tearing everything down, we had 15 kids in aftercare. How many kids you got in aftercare now? As many as you can fit, because...
Yeah, after COVID, we're actually almost back up to 60 a day.
Right, that is the thing, right?
So 13 shy of capacity.
13 shy of capacity, okay. And they've been, you've been at capacity before. Adding this wrinkle, you could probably add to that, but summer camp's the big one. Summer camp, 100 and some odd kids paying $1,000, a summer. You add a facility like this, you can enclose more people, you can do a lot more activities and things like that. So there's a lot of, it's just, the thing I would be worried about the most, if I'm going to be honest with you, is what the neighbors are. That's going to be the town hall meeting. That bring your popcorn, because that'll be fun. You're going to build a big building sitting there, and you're going to block my view of the water. Because I remember when we built the backstops the first time, people blocks I had the perfect view of the water. Okay, well, so that would be the only real hiccup to me until I saw real numbers on it. But like I said, I love when people bring me capital projects that have revenue attached to it. So thank you.
Yeah, we can put together essentially a business model. If we were going to run these programs out of that building, I can put that together. The only thing I will not know is a cost estimate. I mean, I can get, we can go to Al and go, hey, what do you think? And he'll give me, it's X amount per square foot or whatever, and the general cost these days. But that's part of the actual engineering. They go in and they look at everything, and then they go, okay, this is what we're going to need. These are the footers we're going to need. This is the steel we have to use. And saying that out loud, it does sound like it's going to be very expensive, but looking at their proposal, it is essentially companies that have prefabricated buildings and they fit them to your needs. So they're in the business of doing that. We're not building City Hall again. It would be a much more affordable number than we think, but again, it's still not something that we can make a decision right here. I just want to make sure that if that's a thought, then I'll move forward and I can start putting together some numbers and get an idea of that. But if, again, now's not the time to spend the money, then we'll move on and work on something else. But, I just wanted to bring it forward before I went crazy on it, so.
I guess we need to talk about this during the budget process, really, then. Think about it for a while and see if that's something we want to move forward with.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I think what you're asking for is you have $50,000 for the, in the budget currently, right? Okay. So what you're asking of us is, do we want to push forward on utilizing what's in the budget?
Correct.
In order to come up with these numbers and to give us a better plan going forward on it, right? But, okay.
But we don't want to spend money just because it's there and available to spend.
Correct.
I mean, if we don't think we're going to be entertaining either one of these anytime soon, so maybe it is a budget discussion. I don't want to spend $50,000 on something that we don't go forward with because we're tied up with all this other stuff. That was my only. I mean, let's hold on to it and use that 50 in the next. Or keep it.
Yeah, I think this can wait 90 days, right, until we really start getting into the budget.
Yeah,
that's
no
fine.
problem. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Is there any public comment on this?
Hi, folks. Robert Preston, 425 South Bay Shore Drive, Madeira Beach. Pickleball. I love pickleball. It's for the old farts like me. So there's something that Jay Hatch just said that just, like, put a knife in my side. He says, I'll check with Al, see what kind of price we'll get, you know, what this might cost. Well, if you leave it to Al, it's going to double after that. Look at Crystal Island. He's not, I don't think he's our go-to guy anymore. Unless you want him to supervise the project as well. You know, it's just one of those things that really sticks in my craw, especially with the Crystal Island project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the WNA cleaning contract. Director Wepford.
When Megan comes up, you know, we did sit down with Angel, and Megan and I were there, and we went through the reality of, you know, we need to cut the money. We did talk about in an effort of being fully transparent, we talked about the supplies, which was in the height of the COVID situation with the supplies that we needed for sanitizing and making sure that everything was good. It was very hard to find supplies, and he took on the job of going out and finding the supplies, and you know, whether it was Tampa or wherever he had to go to, he tracked down the supplies so we had it. Now the availability has improved, as well as I think some of the cleaning products. So we looked at the option of, okay, well, what if you just come in and you clean, we'll get the supplies, we can purchase it off of whatever procurement issue or procurement process that we follow to, you know, follow our processes, and then we don't have to worry about it. So that's kind of what you see as part of the discussion. And Megan, if, you know, if I missed something in that analysis, you know, if you can speak up, because I'm going by what we went through, and there was a little bit of a cost savings. I believe it was $300 to $500 that we got on a month basis, but the savings that you see there is us, the majority of it is us taking over the supply process. And we were totally honest, and, you know, if we didn't come up with something that was acceptable to the commission, then we'd be looking at probably a new RFP process.
Also, the biggest problem with the supplies being included and on the budget is that Angel and Wanda have to pay the taxes. So we're talking an extra $500 to $700 a month just spent on taxes for the supplies. And the cost of supplies have gone through the roof. Toilet paper products, hand soap, any of that. So where we used to spend on average $19 per case of toilet paper, we're now spending anywhere from $25 to $35. And in this city center, a case of toilet paper is $48, one case. So just on this facility here, fire, and the rec, that's 10 to 15 cases per month on average. Our public restrooms, we go through 50 to 60, and that was only Johns Pass Park, Johns Pass Village, and Archibald. Now we're going to be adding the Kitty Stewart bathroom, and then Causeway Park is open. So take that 50 to 60 and add an additional 20 cases per month at an average of $23 to $25 per case. That's a lot of money, and that's just the paper products. So with taking the supplies out of their budget, it will save us money because we won't be paying the taxes, and it'll save a lot of the hassle for them.
So that, backed it down to $107,400
Correct.
without supplies.
That's correct.
And,
And it was at $147,000.
okay. And the other proposal we had was, I don't have that in front of me.
Well, I've got it all.
I figured
This is
you
the
would.
last time I'm talking about this, so.
And it was
The
what?
problem here is, they lowered the bid, the amount, but there's $3,500 worth of supplies that now we're gonna have to buy. So if you add that $3,500, $3,516.75 to be exact, if you add that back to the $8,950, the bid actually went up. Right? Because the first, when they came, the original was $12,250 a month. And USII came in at $8,639. And theirs includes cleaning supplies. I don't know if that includes toilet paper, right? I mean, I'm reading these things going, it's so hard to compare apples and oranges. But everyone who did the bid, they came in, and it included, I guess we asked them to include it, as an independent contractor, they should be supplying their own cleaning supplies, right? We don't want to turn these people into employees by accident. But, and we give them all the equipment too, apparently, which is another weird thing.
So,
Once you add the supplies back in, it's back up to higher than the original. I mean, I'm looking at their invoice from last month, or this month, actually. And they are invoicing us for, I don't know where that got started that we would pay supplies over and above, but.
That was an agreement from whenever they signed the renewal contract in 2019. They agreed upon having a supplies budget. That was a conversation from the previous finance director that was made. I cannot truly answer to that.
Okay.
Unless we know how much we're gonna be spending on supplies, we don't know if this is a good price, in my view.
Now,
And it's still higher than USSI.
I feel a little ridiculous up here talking about toilet paper, but when they talk supplies from the other vendor, are they including paper towels and toilet paper?
I believe that was
Or is
included
it
in on the
strictly
bid.
cleaning supplies?
I think
I
that was
would-
spelled out in the RFP.
I believe so, but I would have to go back and double check.
Okay, all right.
But can I make a comment about USSI? So I read through emails, and they were,
But they didn't do good before, right? And apparently they've gone through a
Right.
reorganization and all this stuff. I
but
mean,
they immediately, as soon as the contract was signed with them in 2013, did an amendment immediately, right off the bat, for $500 extra a month, and then turned around.
agree to that.
That's correct, but I just, with
they
a
did, I
low
don't know.
bid, that's what we could set ourselves up for if we do that with them. I don't know. I don't know if it's the same people in charge, but I do know that USSI is not based on this side of the bridge. They were going to put together a team. So response time, if we have an accident in a restaurant and there is feces everywhere, it will take a company a response time of an hour, whereas with the current company, they're on site within 20 minutes max, at no
You
additional
want to
cost.
pay an extra $3,500 a month for that, though? That's the question.
Yeah, so if I may jump in here real quick.
Please,
It's.
tell me I'm wrong.
No. It's not about being wrong. I think where we're all kind of in different spots on this is it an apples to apples comparison? Okay, I mean, you can throw out everything else. I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point.
Well,
Is it an apples?
the bids are,
What's that?
the bids
The
that
numbers
we received.
are the numbers, right?
Right.
We're not, I'm not gonna even go into those. I think what we have to figure out is it an apples to apples comparison? Because I can take you from the time when we were in the old building and then we moved into the new building, and the issues that we had, and not just with USSI, the issues that we had trying to figure out, okay, I had to hire somebody to clean the rec center. Disaster, okay? It was hire somebody outside to do it. So then we tried to just keep incorporating, and Angel had to hire more people and the likes of that. So it is a little personal to me because I probably have a little bit more internal knowledge of what they've done and what they do for the city. So instead of them being contractors, you brought up staff before, they're almost like staff. And the reason why I say that is
That's
moments-
dangerous. We can't have that, but go
well,
ahead.
well, let's hold on. Let's go apples to apples. We have a standard that we need to live up to now that our residents expect when they go to a bathroom at Archibald, right? Before, let me tell you something, that wasn't a pretty sight. One of our deputies can call those guys down in Johns Pass Park, oh, somebody threw stuff on the wall in the bathroom. These guys go and do it. Remember, when you hire a contractor, one time a day, they come in, service it, leave, that's it. You don't see them until the next day. So now you have a bathroom that's sitting there covered in whatever it's covered in, okay? That's the first point. So there is something, we're not paying them benefits, having them as on call all the time, to me, it's worth its weight in gold. And we've set this standard.
The others are too, though.
Well, now, wait a minute, they're not on staff. I mean, they're not on site all the time. They're over the
Their
bridge.
employees will be.
Well, hold on.
They pick up a phone and
you
say,
you just heard what Megan just said. Hang on. You just heard what Megan said. They're going to put a team together. Now, if any of you have been listening around on labor issues currently in this area, finding people to work, I don't know. We're going into the unknown in a time when I think it's really tough to go into the unknown with a company outside of the thing. But, little things like broken dispensers. I had kids putting army men down the toilet, and Angel would show up in 2 minutes, curse at me in Spanish and get the thing fixed, right? So, yeah, it is a little personal to me from that side, but I don't think this contract changes in value upwards. It stays pretty much the same. Are we willing to accept their service, their level of service at the same price as we've been paying for a while, or are we going to take a shot in the dark? That's the question that we got to answer.
cleaning service.
Happy, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, I'm gonna tell you, this is, I'm a little, I know you guys see people walk in and out and you go to the bathroom and it's clean and you're happy. You haven't been involved in this on the daily basis here. And I'm telling you, with the amount of people that come through the doors, with the amount of people that go to the rec center, with the amount of people, the tourists that go to our bathrooms on the beach, I'm just, my personal point of view is this is worth every single dime of this, without taking a shot and going outside the blocks. I'll agree with whatever you guys want to agree with, but I'm telling you, in my personal opinion, since the contract's not going up in value, we're not paying more, and we're going to get the same service.
It's absolutely going up more with this latest quote negotiation. The direction was, come back and get in line a little bit better with the competitors, and, you know, we'll be happy to continue to use you. And what they do is they came back with a number higher than their bid. Because if you take their bid of $8,950 per month, and we pay cleaning, it brings it up to $12,460, if we pay supplies, $12,466. Their initial bid was $12,250, right? I mean, right now they're charging us for cleaning supplies. It's the same amount every month, which is, who knows how that happens, but okay.
But we do have to remember that that number is going to be different because they pay taxes.
Right.
So that number is going to be...
Now they're even making more.
They're
making $700 a month more. Because they don't have to pay taxes.
Are you getting the cleaning supplies budget from their invoice? Is that where that number is coming from? Okay. So the reason...
I can't rely on them. Who am I going to rely on?
The city is going to... We're not going to pay Angel and Wanda for the supplies. The city will purchase and receive those supplies.
And how much will that be?
The city hasn't paid for supplies for the cleaning since 2018, so I can't really cost compare.
We've been billed for it, and we've been paying $3,500 for every month for a while.
And that number could be skewed. That was unfortunately a decision that was made by the previous finance director on the supplies budget. So the cost of supplies on average
Let's find out the cost of supplies before we do. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, to keep dragging this on, but the difference between $8,640 and forget these other bids now, all right? Because we're gonna have to get new ones, because these are all too old and we already turned them down. So the difference between $9,000 a month and right now we're paying them $15,000 a month. $15,091.75.
Well, you can knock 7% off the supplies bill simply because.
But we don't know if these are, what they're billing us may not be true. I hope it's lower, but I'm just saying, this last thing where they lowered their price from $12,500 down to $8,950 is not a savings for us.
I feel at this time, I've known Angel and his wife for a long time, and you could pick up the phone any time of the day, any time of the night, and they'll show up. They'll do the work they're supposed to do. And I just feel like they've been very adequate. They've done a great job here. I have no complaints with them. I don't want to lose them. They're good people. They are really good people.
They are another reason why we are top 10 on the beaches, because our facilities are so clean. And they don't get the credit for that.
I'm just a money's gal. This isn't my money. Like, if they were cleaning my house and I loved them, I would pay them a lot. I'm spending the money of all the people sitting out there.
I understand
so I have to
but
out that.
We do receive a level of service that I don't believe most people see. We pay them to disinfect the bathrooms one time a day and to clean the bathrooms one time a day. They are in those bathrooms at minimal of 5 times a day, cleaning, restocking, sanitizing, and not just doing the bathroom.
And that could end tomorrow and we have no recourse, right?
That's correct.
Because
but that's something that we're not
going to see. It's not in writing anywhere. I'm just saying.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't want to spend an extra, whatever it came out to be, $35,000 or something the last time we talked. Now a little more, possibly. Let's figure out, let's ask them how much, because we're getting billed by them for the same amount every month for cleaning supplies. Why don't we ask them, honestly, hey, we'd love to use you, but we need to know what the cleaning supplies really cost.
Okay. If that's
Or
direction, I
tell
can
me
work on
what
it.
you're buying. Is it, if it's 15 cases of toilet paper and 35 gallons of disinfectant and 35 gallons of bleach, then let's do some research and look at it. Because if we can get them, that'd be great, if we could save that $700, but right now, it's looking like the negotiations have ended up with us paying more, twice now. So, I think we're blinded by a personal relationship with the company. I don't have a personal relationship. I'm looking at money and trying to save it, and this isn't, I don't think cleaning services is I don't think we can assume all cleaning services are going to be horrible compared to them. I just don't. That's all.
You know,
I'll do what you guys want. I'm just saying, folks out there in TV land, I'm against paying an extra $35,000 a year.
would this have
keep
to
a
go out to
relationship.
bid again as long as it's been?
You guys have denied
And,
all the bids.
and can we put in a 30-day out clause in a contract with, the other people so that if they don't perform, we can cancel the contract?
We have that now.
With 30-day notice?
The answer is yes. You would need to put some metrics or criteria in there that you would be able to use, but the answer is yes.
Okay.
And we need to decide how we're gonna, if they're gonna, maybe we buy all the paper products and they supply the ammonia or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't want us to get ripped off, that's all. I don't want, it's a little suspect to me now that I've seen the invoices from the last 6 months.
So do we want to put this out for bid again, or do we want to move forward with this contract that we've got?
Do you want to hear what Jay has?
Well, if you're looking for feedback, I'm in the camp of it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's stick with the contract, and we can do a one-year contract. Let's evaluate it after a year, and then we can, if you guys want to go out to bid again. I think going out to bid directly after going out to bid a few months ago, I doubt we'll get very many responses to it. They'll think we're crying wolf. So. That's just, like I said, I would stick with what we know, and kind of go from there.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Maybe if you allow me to, place this on the agenda. We can't vote on it tonight, so I'll place this on the agenda for the May 12th meeting. In between that time frame, we'll get a better handle on what supplies they are using currently and what we feel we can get in the marketplace those supplies for. And if that helps you in your decision-making process, then it's something that we can get done. If not, you can either, table that action and we can do something else, or you can vote on the motion or vote on the issue at the meeting.
That's fine. Thanks for your direction on that.
Okay. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is status of the 13222 3rd Street East House lien enforcement. Vice Mayor Price.
Actually, I think it's at my doorstep, and we
Okay.
kind of talked at the meeting, the last commission meeting, and the process that we had. We've got the lien. We had our attorney, Matt Widener, be involved in this, filed it. We're ready to go, and he even took it to a mediation that was, I guess, court-ordered. But the problem is, none of the issues of bringing the property into compliance were done. And to me, I think that's just a bad precedence that we're going to try to negotiate a deal when the property owner hasn't even made an effort to bring the property into compliance. And we've never had that here. So I am interested in getting the property taken care of. It's deplorable. We have some roof problems. I have Frank going to take a look at it for the life safety issue of posting it. The bottom line, it's easier for them to demolish it, and that was part of the deal they wanted to do. Well, we'll demolish it within 30 days. No, demolish it now, and then we can work about what the lien is, to satisfy the lien. So, and just in general, I haven't been as happy with that arrangement, and it's an arrangement that we have here. And what I'd like to do is look at another option. I've talked to our city attorney about it because he's handled that for other cities, and I'll let him speak for himself. But I would recommend allowing me to go through the process again of placing it on the agenda, noticing him, but looking at rescinding that agreement and getting a process that we can live with as a group.
What agreement is there?
What
are you talking about?
There's an agreement that occurred. This is back under our previous city attorney who brought Matt on board, if my recollection's correct. And he gets a certain percentage depending on how much work he puts into the case. So, if it's something he just settles with them.
Oh, the agreement with the attorney.
Yeah, with the attorney. I'm sorry.
I thought you. I'm like.
No.
Okay.
The
so
property itself, we have a lien. It's being enforced, but they haven't come into compliance. So I'd like to take that case and any of future cases and turn it over to our city attorney to resolve. I think having a separate attorney, while the process was good back with our previous city attorney, I think we get more accountability with our own city attorney or our interim city attorney taking care of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
You're
willing to do it.
So, the answer is yes, our law firm would be willing to do it. I would not suggest that, if you're interested in doing it, that our law firm would do it on a percentage basis. I don't like that, and the reason I don't like it, because it makes it look like everything that we're doing is to make the attorney fee bigger. My suggestion is just to do it on an hourly rate basis. That's what I do from other cities, and then there is no incentive, to settle cases when in fact you don't want to settle them. Understand? So that the lawyers sometimes, want to settle cases because of the fact that they're going to get paid sooner. I'm not suggesting that's what's happening with Matt. Obviously, this case isn't settled, but I've handled hundreds of these types of cases over the years, and our law firm would be happy to do it, and we'd bring you a proposal if you're interested in making a change. On this particular case, I wanted to let you know that the lawsuit was actually filed in March of 2020, and here we are in March of 2021. And the last thing that has happened in the case is this mediation that took place on March the 10th. There's no information in the court docket system as to the results of that mediation. Normally, there would be a notice to the court that it did not settle, or it did settle. In this case, I don't think that it settled. The commission gave direction to the attorney, and I haven't heard anything. I did reach out to Matt this afternoon. He may have been in court, may not have been able to respond, asking for a status. I haven't got that. I'll provide that to you as soon as I get a response. But so if you want to, and I have not seen Matt's fee agreement, but it's my understanding it is a contingent fee agreement, and that's what I think that Bob is talking about. Maybe you want to take a look at that. But if you want to make the change, our law firm would be happy to take it over or be involved in another law firm handling it if you're not satisfied with Matt.
Or
So we-
from my point of view, yes, I would like your firm to handle it.
I'll agree.
All right, thank you. We'll bring forward a proposal, and you're gonna be bringing it up to, it's gonna come back on the agenda?
Agenda for the May 12th meeting, and I will notify Matt in all fairness to him, so if he wants to come and let you know whatever, he has that opportunity to do so.
Okay, thank you. The next on the agenda is American Rescue Act Plan. Mr. Daniels?
Yes, I think in the packet, using my microphone or not. I think the battery's dead on the car, good mic. Thank you. There we go, sorry. In your packet is the latest information on the American Rescue Act plan and the updates. As I think we discussed previously, it's publicized that we're eligible for $1.8 million. Basically, the way the legislation works is if have a population under $50,000, the money goes to the state, and the state's supposed to pass it along to us. There's a lot more questions than answers right now. I know Andrew's been working on researching that as well. There's probably going to be some type of process that we're going to have to follow to get the money from the state, but we want to get whatever paperwork they're going to want. And then there's the question, what can we do with the money? And, there's a lot of unknowns in that situation, too. I know there was talk about expenditures due to COVID, and there's other issues, but until they come out and say, here's what you got to do to get the money, and this is what you have to show us that you're doing with the money, and then we can come up with a concrete answer. So hopefully within the next month or so, we should be getting some of that information out of the state. I called on this on Monday, and they still didn't have any plans in motion. So I'll try to keep you updated on this, and both myself and Andrew, if we get information on it, we'll forward it out.
Are there any questions on this?
Well, I think it was the state that put out that number, right? I got the email, I don't know if everyone got the email. So they've already decided how much the different municipalities will be getting. So now we're just, and it's been signed by the president, so now we're just waiting on
the Department of Emergency Management to come up with their distribution process and how they're...
A wire transfer would be just fine.
Oh, I think so, too.
I'll give you an account number, Bob.
An offshore account? But I think realistically, just knowing the way the government works, they're going to want us to reassure them or have some type of certification that we're going to spend the money within the parameters that we're supposed to.
Got it.
And without knowing those parameters completely, because, Congress kind of, they passed the law, it's signed by the president, but now it has to get enacted, and sometimes there's a delay in there, unfortunately. But that might be something, too. I can work with Charlie Crist's office and see what information that we can get as well.
Okay.
And there's a GFOA forum that I'm following. It's the Government Finance Officers Association, so they've got a group, and they've already blasted a bunch of questions out. As the forum asks the questions and Treasury guidance comes, those questions will be answered. Some great examples of use. Under the use of funds, it says to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. That's all we got. So the questions are, does this also include road projects like repaving of streets? What about investments in existing infrastructure other than water, sewer? What about investment in stormwater infrastructure, which can affect sewer lines? Can we use it for the replacement of aged water and sewer infrastructure, Can they be used to renovate a building for court service? All kinds of things. So all we have is big question marks. And so, we're not the only ones obviously asking these, but as information comes in, I think when the Treasury releases its guidance, that's when we're going to get the flood of information, and then the interpretation comes, and then there's follow-up questions, and then the Treasury re-releases new guidance. That's kind of how it happened with the release of the CRF guidance, the coronavirus relief funding. So I imagine the same will happen here. We just have to be patient as it comes in. I'll be the first to convey that to everyone, to let you know kind of where things are.
Okay, thank you. Next is a plan for providing sandbags during hurricanes. Mr. Daniels, you want to?
Yes. Actually, Megan's been around during the storm, the Irma storm that we had. And then we had information of some restrictions that DEP has put on us, along with all the coastal communities, about utilizing the sand on the beach. So there has been a pile of sand that we've had at Johns Pass Village. We have distributed bags, but I'll let Megan give you an update on where we are today.
Did you guys all get a copy of the memo, Claire?
No.
Oh,
I think this is it. I'm sorry.
oh,
I'm negligent.
So in the memo, I just included an email that was sent to Jamie from DEP about acquiring a permit for sandbagging. So in the event an executive order is issued, and in that order, it will state who we need to contact in order to get a permit to be able to remove sand like we've been doing for the past 40 years. Thank you.
yeah.
Previously, we've always done this. During Irma, we were on the news. We had FDOT out helping us, Pinellas County. We never had an issue, but now, since we've received these emails, we now have to follow the protocol. So, in the event an executive order is issued, we will file for a permit. From my understanding, it's not going to be very difficult to receive that permit. We would pull the sand from Archibald, set up the sandbagging station. I always have bags. I think right now I have around 7,000. During Irma, we probably gave out close to, I want to say, 15,000. I can get sandbags. I can order more to have them on hand, but just at our event that we held, the expo, I gave out 200 bags. So I have residents contact me usually once a week, maybe more, asking me for bags. They just come by the Public Works yard and I have the bags. I carry them in my truck as well.
Are they just going down to Johns Pass and getting the sand?
So right now we have a pretty decent-sized pile, maybe 5 yards of sand, and a pile next to the fenced-in enclosure that's always there. So if somebody wanted to get ahead of the game before the season, they would just need to take a shovel and fill their bags.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if...
Where in Johns Pass Park?
Right there as you
At
enter the park, or enter the
On the
parking
left-hand
lot
side.
on the left-hand side, by that, I think there's an electric station there.
Yes, and then it's actually, it's right by, like, right in front of the enclosure. If you're looking at the bathrooms, it'll be straight ahead of you.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit more in the grassy area versus in the parking lot.
Okay.
But it's always there. When we clean the parking lot, we just dump it there. But in this, I included just the updated cost of what it is per yard of sand. If a yard of sand does not go very far, so we would prefer not to purchase sand.
Well, I'm sure, Dylan Hubbard would be glad to give you sand from, that's not on the beach.
I'm sure he would, but I think that might fall under the same guidelines.
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe we could, when we do a newsletter, maybe put that out there for people that might want to prepare early and just have some sitting on the side of the house.
That's a good idea. I think in my manager's minute that we put out every month, I can, try to explain the changes because of DEP and, the solutions that we have.
Megan, if, the permit is acquired, during the state of emergency, the idea is to set up a sandbag station like
At
in
Archibald.
the past, in the rec center, and everybody chips.
Yes, we would do it just like
Getting back to normal.
back to normal.
I like normal. Normal
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Yeah, but that pile that's down there now, we could go ahead and let
Absolutely, it's open
residents
to
go
anybody
ahead
at
and
any time.
get some ahead of time, so they
Mhm.
don't have to, or they can avoid the rush, so to speak, at the sandbag station at Archibald.
It just makes it a lot easier to fill the bags.
Yep. That's fun to go down there when that's going on, though.
It's a lot of work, so if it happens, we're gonna need a lot of help.
Yep.
I won't be in a suit then.
I think the newest commissioner has to go down there and help do that.
It's backbreaking.
Hey,
Okay.
when I went down there the last time it got sandbags, all the commissioners were down there.
Yeah.
Putting them in the cars and using the traffic cones to put the sand in the bag.
Yeah, it was a
and
pretty neat
it
little
was
setup. I was
it
like,
was
who thought of this?
Very cool.
That was the Public Works Department,
Yeah.
yeah. We perfect it every year, make it a little bit different, a little easier.
Okay,
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
take care. Okay. With that, this meeting is adjourned at 8:27.